Peace and love, y'all. It's your brother A.D.V.I.S, and we are here with another episode of What's the Word Wednesdays, Season 2, Episode 30. So, as we usually do, I'm going to drop in the comments, the topics for today, as well as I'm going to put up our logo to have it in the background. But as y'all are coming in, let me know how y'all doing, how you feel, and what's the word. And for those, shout outs to those who will be watching this now and watching this later, whether on Instagram or YouTube. If on YouTube, don't forget to follow, subscribe, like, comment, and share on your boy's channel, A.D.V.I.S Speaks. And hit that notification bell because there's going to be more content and more videos to come. So please be on the lookout and continue watching. But besides that, for today's episode 30, the topics that we're going to be looking into and getting into are as follows. We're going to be talking about current events. So more of the news, so the news segment. Second, we're going to be talking about A.R.T, which abbreviated or expanded is Actualizing Real Time and what that means. And lastly, we're going to talk about what does being your best version mean. So what does that mean to be your best version? But those are what we have for tonight. So again, y'all come in, let me know how you feeling, how you doing, and what's the word. What's going on, Kundan? Good to see you in here. Peace and love. What's the word? And don't forget to stay hydrated. Very important. Stay hydrated. Alright, let's give it for a few more people to get in here, and after that we'll get started with the news segment. And again, if y'all have any news as well, please throw it in the comments and we will get to them and just add them along with the news segment if y'all have anything to share. As well as if you want to come on and join, just know that this will be uploaded to YouTube. So if you're not comfortable with that, staying in the comments is just fine. And if not, if you are comfortable, you're more than welcome to come on and join during the times of our discussion. So that's what we got. So let's see. Oh yeah, y'all let me know, how do I sound? Do I sound just fine? Am I okay? I always end up doing a sound check. But alright. I hope we can stay together in this life forever. But with that, while I'm in here waiting, let's go ahead and let's get on with the show and do this show song. Once again, if you know it, you know it. If not, you'll tune in with it. But let's let this thing start up and get it all together. What's going on, my brother Freddie, the wizard, in the building? Good to see you, my G. What's the word? So when we do this and we handle everything, we tell them how we feel, what we need. So they're going to ask you, what's the word, y'all? What's the word? What's the word, y'all? What's the word? What's the word, y'all? What's the word? We tell them like, what's the word? What's the word? What you heard? We got to know, yeah, what's the word? Once again, y'all, it's your brother A.D.V.I.S, and we are here with another episode of What's the Word Wednesday, Season 2, Episode 30. And I'm so grateful for y'all being back and coming again for another episode. That altogether makes 50 episodes in that we're on What's the Word. So shout outs to that. At the same time, appreciate everyone being here, of your time, giving of that, and sharing and supporting the show. As well as for those who are watching this now and will be watching this later, Instagram, YouTube, don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe, and follow on IG as well as on YouTube at A.D.V.I.S. Speaks, because there's more content and things coming out to be done for y'all. So please look out for that. Lastly, once y'all come up in here, let me know how y'all feeling, how y'all doing, and what's the word. You already got a few up in here. One of the words is hip hop. All day. It don't stop. Let's keep it moving all day. But with that, y'all, for today's episode, for episode 30, these are the topics that we got to have and to speak with. First, gonna be going over current events, so we're gonna do the news section, tell you what's been going on in the news. If y'all have any, please throw them in the comments as usual. And second, we're gonna be going into A.R.T, which the acronym stands for Actualizing Real Time, and we're gonna go along and figure what do you mean by actualizing real time. And lastly, we're gonna talk about what does being your best version mean. But with that, y'all, those are all the topics for today. And let's see what's going on with more of this in the comments before I start the news. We got stealthing is now a crime in California. Interesting. Might have to elaborate a little bit more on that, Kundan. Let me know. Stealthing. I know a little bit what that means, but like elaborate a little bit more. But with that, y'all, let's get to these current events. All right. So for the current events, like I usually do, I have a couple of articles talking about the updates with the vaccines and shots, and then have a few articles speaking about what's going on with not only shipping and things within the house, and possible talking about nature and different ways of agriculture. But let's see. So first article headline reads, fully vaccinated people, and this is from the MSN Business Insider. Fully vaccinated people who previously had COVID-19 should be last in line for booster shots, experts say. Again, those are for those who've already had COVID-19 and have gotten the shots. They should be last in line for the boosters. Now let's see why. 3 bullet points they have before we do our 2 paragraphs and we out. First one is fully vaccinated people who with a past COVID-19 infection may be last to get booster shots because they say the COVID-19 infection can trigger the immune response in a similar way to the booster shots. And then another one says, therefore, people have already had 3 exposures, one expert says. So these are the at least breakdowns within the article itself. So now let's continue. 2 paragraphs and we're out. Boom. Fully vaccinated people who had previously had COVID-19 could be the last in line for booster shots, experts say. Fully vaccinated Americans with the highest risk of severe COVID-19 are eligible for an extra shot to boost immunity against the highly infectious Delta variant, which has mutations that help it avoid the immune response. Interesting. Immunity from COVID-19 vaccines start to wane after about 5 months, according to real-time data. So eventually most people will likely need an extra dose. But Dr. Akiko Wasaki is an immunologist at Yale University, told the Wall Street Journal that people who have been fully vaccinated and have previously caught the virus were likely to be the last group that needed a booster shot because their immune system has had 3 exposures, 2 vaccine doses, and 1 infection, all of which triggered an immune response. Again, those were just the 2 paragraphs and we're out. But basically, the more responses, at least from here, because of the fact that folks have gotten the 2 shots and they've had past COVID, they've had 3 different responses that have woken up those immunities. So they would be last in line, at least with all this booster talk, which we'll see a little bit more about that in a few articles here. But with that, this is that first article. I'm going to go in here, look into the comments. But again, it comes from Business Insider, and it says fully vaccinated people who have previously had COVID-19 should be last in line for booster shots. experts say. Now, let me see. Okay, got an update. Gwen said, stealthing is removing the condom in the middle of sex without consent. Ah, interesting. Okay. I mean, yes. That's a number of cases back way when for folks, or they will call certain women who would go with athletes and celebrities groupies. Like, they've done stuff like that. So, interesting now to see that be reprimanded. So, thank you for sharing that. Now, if y'all have more, please throw them down in the comments. Next article, this one again comes from Business Insider on MSN. So, all of these articles, when I say them, just look up. We can retype these names of the articles and you can find them to have it. So, this one, again, title is Scientists Gave J&J, Johnson & Johnson, vaccine recipients different booster shots in a highly anticipated trial and found that they got a much better immune response with Moderna and Pfizer. So interesting. Let's see. So back way when, I don't know if any of y'all were here back way when, but there was talk about doing a mixing and matching of different shots, whether if it was Moderna and Pfizer, like one with Moderna, then one with Pfizer, or Johnson & Johnson, mixing those to see the different results. So we're seeing that they're mixing these booster shots. Let's see what the effectiveness or the results can be from these trials. Again, 2 paragraphs and we're out. We got 3 bullet points. First one, people who got the Johnson & Johnson vaccine may have a better immune response from a Moderna or Pfizer booster. A major new study says. Second one, J&J recipients generated far more antibodies after a Moderna or Pfizer shot instead of a second J&J stab. Interesting. Or I should say jab, yeah. Third one, however, higher levels of antibodies do not necessarily mean a person is more protected from the coronavirus. Very interesting. Right, 2 paragraphs, y'all, and we out. Article reads, the first study to mix and match boosters for Moderna, Pfizer, Johnson & Johnson's COVID shots is out, and it looks like you can boost any U.S. authorized vaccination with any other vaccine safely, though boosting J&J with Moderna or Pfizer may prompt a stronger immune response, at least initially. Oh, what's going on, Brother Vlad? Good to see you in here. What's the word, my G? Hope all is well with you. Let me know how you feeling and what's the word. Boom. Next part of this. A new study funded by the U.S. National Institutes of Health, which is the NIH, showed first and foremost that mixing and matching COVID-19 vaccines is a perfectly safe thing to do. So just letting it know. Another part, what the study shows is that regardless of what an individual received originally, getting boosted with one of the 3 vaccines which we evaluated, the one from Moderna, the one from Janssen, and the one from Pfizer, led to good antibody responses in each of the groups. Lead study author Dr. Robert Atmar from Baylor College of Medicine told insiders shortly after his new data was released on Wednesday. Last one. The mix and match study enrolled 458 people from 10 different medical centers across the U.S. who were each fully vaccinated with Moderna's, Pfizer's, or Johnson & Johnson's vaccine. Volunteers then got boosted with one of those 3 shots, yielding 9 different mixed and match combinations. Researchers tested the blood of these volunteers periodically throughout the month, comparing their levels of virus-fighting proteins called neutralizing antibodies. So, I'm not going to go so much more into it, but again, they have not only one, but it looks like there's another study that's basically showing the credibility of mixing and matching the booster shots between all three of the main COVID vaccinations right now. And they're seeing that it doesn't matter, but more so those who got the Johnson & Johnson, there's a better chance of you getting a better immune response if you get Moderna and the Pfizer booster versus trying to get a Johnson & Johnson booster. Which a lot of these boosters, I'm not even too sure yet, have been approved. So we're going to go into these next articles. But if y'all got more, please throw them in the comments. I appreciate y'all. Again, this article came from Business Insider, and the title was Scientists Gave Johnson & Johnson Vaccine Recipients Different Booster Shots in a Highly Anticipated Trial and found that they got a much better immune response with Moderna and Pfizer. All right. Let me see up this in the comments. I hope all is well with every single one of you in here. And let's see. I just saw a very misleading post from Huffington Instagram saying 6.2 billion have taken the same vaccine. I reported it for false information because there are Cuban, Chinese, and Indian vaccines too. Yes. So, yes, brother, because how many people on this earth are there? And isn't there a lack of vaccinations to get across to not only to third world countries but other smaller nations as well? So we gotta check them numbers. So good that you had ended up reporting it. But yeah, so they're saying that mixing is working well. At least this is what they're getting from this trial, from the study that's been put out. More so, if you're a person who ended up getting the Johnson shot, it is much more effective if you go and get a booster from either Moderna or Pfizer, not if Johnson & Johnson made their own booster. But let's see. Speaking of boosters, y'all, coming from The Independent, next article, the title reads, FDA says Moderna does not meet all criteria for COVID-19 boosters. So they was talking about the possibility, and they giving people these booster shots and things. Now we have an article here saying that they do not meet all the criteria. It's interesting. Again, Instagram, YouTube, these are all articles I am reading from. You want to get mad? Go get mad at The Independent as well as MSN. Right. 3 paragraphs and we're out. Boom. Article reads, scientists at the U.S. Food and Drug Administration said that Moderna has not met all of the agency's criteria to support use of a booster shot for a COVID-19 vaccine, possibly because the efficacy of the shot's first 2 doses have remained strong. Interesting. There's a flip on that. Makes sense. All right. FDA staff said in documents that data for Moderna's vaccine showed that a booster does increase protective antibodies, but the difference in the antibody levels before and after this shot was not wide enough, particularly in those levels whose levels have remained high. Next one. The documents were released on Tuesday ahead of the meeting later this week of the FDA's outside experts, advisors to discuss booster doses of the vaccine. The FDA typically follows the advice of its experts, but is not bound to do so. A panel of advisors to the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, CDC, will meet next week to discuss specific recommendations on who can receive the boosters if the FDA authorizes them. So, again, at least from the few paragraphs right here, it's at the 2 and we're out, that from here, they're not necessarily saying that Moderna's booster shot meets all the criteria as in, it's lacking somewhere. It's more so that it's not necessarily needed, especially for folks who are still showing high levels of protectiveness. So they're going to find out later on through this meeting who and if the FDA is going to approve the booster shot from Moderna as well as the other vaccine shots boosters as well. But again, this was this article talking from The Independent titled FDA says Moderna does not meet all criteria for COVID-19 boosters. That was this article. Again, if y'all got more, please throw them in the comments. And shout outs to the brother Sabi Smooth in the building. What's the word, brother? Good to see you in here. Appreciate everybody that's in here as well, too. Oh, yeah, brother, go do what you got to do. I'm glad you up in here, man. I know super late anyways, where you at, so appreciate you tapping in. All right. On to the next one. On to the next one. On to the next one. All right. Again, another follow-up one when it comes to the booster shots. This one comes from CNN, and the headline reads, FDA to take up Moderna, J&J COVID-19 booster shots. Questions, including mix and match shots. So we've already talked about one that has the mix and match shots, but let's see what they're going to end up doing when it comes to that. So 2 paragraphs, and we're out. So, vaccine advisors to the U.S. Food and Drug Administration, FDA, meet Thursday and Friday of this week to tackle the next round of questions about the booster vaccines for COVID-19. And they'll see the first trickle of data on the mix and match boosters. So some of the data that we ended up, at least, or the article prior before, showed that there is a good chance between mixings, especially if you got in the Johnson and then you decided you will get the boosters for Moderna or Pfizer. Either way, that's one of the studies. There might be more, so we'll see. On Thursday, they'll focus on Moderna's application to add a booster dose to its 2-dose vaccine schedule. On Friday, they'll consider Johnson & Johnson's request for booster. Only after they decided those 2 questions will members of the FDA's Vaccine and Related Biological Products Advisory Committee, or the weird number or weird lettering VRB-PAC, turn to mix and match boosters. It's been one of the biggest ongoing questions about vaccines since the 3 different products hit the U.S. Is it safe and even desirable to mix different vaccine types? Researchers have been trying a variety of these combinations, and you'll see what they end up being. Again, I'm not going to get more into this. We got to speak a bit about the mixing and matching earlier from the other one. But again, this article's name comes from CNN, and the title was FDA to take up Moderna and Johnson & Johnson COVID-19 booster shot questions, including mix and match shots. Okay? That was that article. We're on to the next one. And shouts out to the brother West Coast Ninja in the building. One of the coldest ninjas that you've ever seen on the West Coast. All right. There's another thing we got. One more about COVID and we'll be done talking about it. I know we're tired of talking about it, but just got to. But let me look into these comments real quick. So, we got another one talking. It says, House Capitol attack panel issue subpoena to Trump official Jeffrey Clark. Interesting. Might have to look into that. I'm not too sure what that, where that goes, but a subpoena for sure. I mean, somebody having to need to take, responsibility for what happened that particular time. So I hear that. Right. On to the next article. And this one comes from Saloon. And the article title reads, Merck's new COVID-19 drug could be pandemic game changer. So, if y'all are not too familiar, Merck is also another, if I am correct, is another company, pharmaceutical company that creates and does other things as well too, very similar to like a Pfizer, Moderna, Johnson, etc. But they have this pill out that data has said that it is 50% effective against fighting and protecting yourself against the not the vaccine, but the virus. So we'll see what this whole thing is about. But I always question, because I play around with names every single time. But y'all just listen to the name Merck. If anybody knows, slang for Merck, that means to, take out. It means to, leave somebody leaving this earth. So it's interesting that you'll have a company named Merck, but just keep that in mind. Again, I'm just reading the article in the titles, Instagram and YouTube. Don't be extra. Right. Article. First, we got 2 paragraphs and we're out. Oh, Peace out to the brother. I see you in here, Rudy. What's going on? As well as Buffet destroying the building. What's the word, y'all? Good to see y'all. Let me know how y'all feeling, how y'all doing. We in the news segment, but we'll be moving on next pretty soon. Right. 2 paragraphs and we're out. So imagine if an unvaccinated person with COVID-19 could go to the pharmacy and get a pill that could reduce their risk of dying from COVID by 50%. This scenario could drastically reduce the numbers of needless COVID-19 mortalities, and it could become a reality as soon as 2022. On Monday, pharmaceutical company Merck and Company announced that it submitted its application to the FDA for emergency use authorization of the first antiviral pill targeted to treat COVID-19. If approved, the pill called, there's a weird name, y'all. I'm going to show y'all. I don't even want to butcher this name, but this is the name. Right there. Molnupiravir. You know, that's always with these. That's always what's up with these names. It's always interesting. It's just weird. But again, with that one, the name could be a major milestone in ending the pandemic as effective at-home treatment option. So there's been other ideas and options of this in the past, but now they're really following through with a pill version of this. So the concept behind the drug is that those with high-risk conditions could take the pill to prevent their COVID-19 case from worsening and progressing to hospitalization or death. According to an announcement by the company earlier this month, the results in its clinical trials cut hospitalizations and death by 50% in patients who had at least one high-risk factor of COVID-19. I'm not too sure what it is, but yeah, they have all these different stuff, you know. There's more to that, but the main thing is that there's this new, quote unquote, is this COVID pill that could come out and cut your changes or, your likability to be hospitalized or the symptoms of COVID by 50% with the interesting name. Like, I just can't, they give you in the article, but I'm not going any further with it. They'll give you the breakdown of why they named it what they named it, because Pfizer's approved vaccine was named Comirnaty, but it's like a mix of community unity, as well as it's like a few of them, but it's definitely interesting. But yeah, those names usually are very goofy. But that again was from the article or from Salon, and the article's name was Merck's new COVID-19 drug could be a pandemic game changer, quote quotes. But let me see what y'all got going on in here, and we'll move to the next one. It said, yo, 50% sound amazing. Usually that's what happens with any type of, you can say drug or testing of stuff. If it does not meet the 50% threshold, then it is not considered to be effective for anything. Like, this is when it comes to science and studying. This is what at least I found. I can be completely wrong again, but when there was another vaccine out that they were trying to push, but it didn't even meet the 50% threshold, so that they had to get rid of it. I think it was Novavax. I think it was what the name was. But yeah, 50% is the standard. If you meet 50%, then that means it's effective in some way. But yeah, Merck as a mercenary. Well, Merck as in it's spelled MERCK. That can be, you can mean mercenary again. Words are real spells, so all of that. But I think of Merc as in, when people talk about, man, I'm about to murk this fool, like, it's mostly talking about somebody's leaving. They're not going to be on this earth no more. So to have a pharmaceutical company named Merck, for me, I play on words again, and I'm a lyricist. So I had a line about this like a year ago. I've just never put it out. But I have a line that has to do with this company. Right. Man, F12, yep. Always good. Doing good, always. Love hearing your knowledge, brother. It's always great to have you up in here. Appreciate you. Weird name, bruh. I'm telling you, these names are weird. I mean, often names are related to the chemical structure. Yeah, I was telling you earlier, we're not too sure because I didn't get to see what it is and how they break it down, but that's just how it goes. If it's the generic name, at least. True. Bro, Big Pharma keeps selling the people new solutions. That's how it goes. That's how you making your money. Y'all talk about, following the people, man. Follow the money. That's the main thing. And see where all this funding and things are going into. And if you look into these companies and you learn a little bit more about them, you see that they have multiple lawsuits day in and day out. So sometimes you see why they got to come out and start making more money because they got to pay these lawsuits off. But again, you can look this stuff up. It's all there, even in articles. So again, YouTube, Instagram, it's all there. It's all on there. Again, thank Google. Right. Next article, y'all, so I can keep this moving. Boom. We have an article. Got an article coming from CNBC. And the headline reads, Fed says it could begin gradual tapering process by mid-November. So when we think about the tapering process, they're talking about lowering the cost of things, if I am correct. But let us see. 2 paragraphs and we're out. Boom. First bullet says the Federal Reserve, if y'all didn't know the Fed is short for Federal Reserve, could begin reducing the pace of monthly assets purchases as soon as mid-November, according to minutes from the September meeting. The summary released Wednesday indicated that the tapering process could see a monthly reduction of $10 billion in Treasury and $5 billion in mortgage-backed securities. So you're going to figure out, okay, what does that have to do with any of us? You'll see. Officials at the meeting expressed concern about inflation, saying it could last longer than they currently assumed. Because we know how that works. But all right, 2 paragraphs and we're out. Now, article starts. Federal Reserve officials could begin reducing the extraordinary help they've been providing to the economy as soon as mid-November, according to the minutes from the central bank's September meeting released Wednesday. The meeting summary indicated members felt the Fed had come too close to reaching its economic goals and soon could be normalizing policy by reducing the pace of its monthly asset purchases. Yes, I agree. I already see it right there, West Coast. Yes, inflation has been ridiculously insane. In a known process as tapering, the process is called tapering, the Fed would reduce the $120 billion a month in bonds buys slowly. The minutes indicated the central bank could or would start cutting $10 billion a month in Treasury and $5 in the mortgage-backed securities. The Fed is currently buying at least $80 billion in Treasury and $40 billion in MBS, mortgage-backed securities. The target date to end the purchases should be with no disruptions would be mid 2022. The minutes noted participants generally assessed that provided that the economic recovery remained broad on track, a gradual tapering process that concluded around the middle of this year would be appropriate. Yes. Last thing. Participants noted that if a decision to begin tapering purchases occurred at the next meeting, the process of tapering could commence with monthly purchase calendars beginning either mid-November or mid-December. So yes, for those who are just like, okay, what is all this dang talk? This basically has to do with the stock market as well as the economy that's going on within the U.S. So you're trying to literally cut down on certain purchases of things so that there can be a rebuilding and a rebalancing of stuff. Because right now, especially if you're into the stock market, a lot of stuff has been going down recently because there's not been enough money to fund a whole grip of things, as well as we still have the pandemic and all these other things going on that's having an effect on the economy. And especially with this mandate as well, I've seen that there has been a push for folks to, I mean, of course, there's been a push for people to go back to work, but there's also shown there's been a lot of people's left out of work. So there's been leaving more job positions with less people there. So it's very interesting. That's all I have to end up saying. But with this, again, with this article, it comes from CNBC, and it reads, which is the Federal Reserve says that it could begin gradual tapering process by mid-November because they're trying to balance things out. So that's just how it ends up going. Right. 2 more articles and we out, y'all. One of them that I'm going to have y'all, we're going to just listen to the video and I'll explain it to you after. But this is the next thing. All right. Let's move. And I'm going to show you this video. But before I do that, let me check the comments again. We'll see. Yes, I saw that. Same in Canada. My portfolio is down these last month or two. Yeah, that's just how it's just showing right now. It's just that it's going crazy with stuff. Right, y'all. Now I'm about to show y'all if I can get all of this sound up real quick, and y'all let me know how it sounds. But I'm going to show you this other article. It's a video real quick, 2 minutes, and it's from CBS. And the article reads, major backlog at ports disrupt supply chains. And this is at least in California. This is the port in Los Angeles. So you'll get to see what that is, and we could talk briefly about what an effect this has. But here we go. Y'all let me know if y'all can hear it too.
Tonight, one word sums up the feeling along every line of the supply chain: frustration. That goes for retailers, truck drivers, and especially customers. CBS's Carter Evans takes a closer look from the Port of Los Angeles.
This is what a broken supply chain looks like from the air. Nearly 60 cargo ships floating outside the ports of Los Angeles and Long Beach. They're carrying about 250,000 containers. The workers will soon be unloading around the clock. Truckers at the Port of LA sometimes have to line up for hours just to pick up one container. And then where do they take them? Most warehouses are full. And that's delaying deliveries even further.
Because they work too slow inside.
Trucker Manassas Gonzalez doesn't get paid by the hour. He gets paid by the load. How long are the waits here to pick up a load sometimes?
7 to 9 hours. Like these hours, they're not counting.
Clearing the backlog may take months. It could be the end of 2022 before things get back to normal. Normal being a ship enters the port, offloads, and departs with no delays.
It's a good first step, but we need to see further downstream logistics, rail, all has to fire at same time for it to become very efficient.
They're not going to be able to wave the magic wand and make this go away.
There is no magic wand. It's a huge bottleneck.
At the end of the supply chain are store owners like Tony Yabaka, whose bike shop is just down the street from the backed up port. When we met him a month ago, Yabaka was waiting for a bike order he made a year ago. Do you know when those bikes are going to come in?
No, not really.
A year
And
ago.
all those kids' bikes that you're waiting for, where are they?
They're either on those ships or maybe they're still in Asia, but they're not in warehouses.
Now, dock workers tell me they are all for this 24-hour port plan. In fact, they say they've been wanting to do it for years, and it's in their current contract that they can work 24 hours. They're just waiting for terminal operators here at the port to tell them when to start. Nora?
Time to turn on that switch. Carter Evans, thank you.
So yeah, y'all. I see some of y'all reactions in here, but yeah, y'all let me know. I'm gonna speak on it real quick, but let me read these reactions, and then we're gonna keep going with it. But yeah, it said, you say yeah, can you, all right. Oil big spill in Huntington Beach too. Yes, I spoke about that last week. We got to talk about that real briefly of what was going on and how a lot of it was damaged before. So yes, brother, that's another big thing going in Huntington Beach. And that's kind of also part of the reason why, at least I'm putting together, that the gas, especially here, I know in Cali, the gas has been getting higher and higher, almost close to like $5, depending on where you at, to just fill up. Not only because we lost a lot of that oil, and then now it's affecting the biome of freaking Los Angeles, or, Long Beach. because all of that oil's been dipping into there, so the wildlife and things getting affected. But also is affecting the gas prices. On top of, we pulled out of Afghanistan, so that's another place where we would get, gas. So that's why things are going up, because it's almost becoming, not gonna say scarce, but we don't have a high supply of that stuff. And with this going on too, there's a wonder why we don't have a lot of supply for also food chains and things of that nature. Every time, I always forget. But good to see you up in here, the brother Phasefarer in the building. Good to see you, brother. What's the word? Let me know. But yeah, let's see. It says, wait, what? How the heck did that happen? Is it because of COVID restrictions? Brother, there's a number of reasons why this is happening. I feel part of it, I agree with you. It could be a part of the COVID restrictions. Another part was way back when there was a ship that was actually blocking some of the ports and some of the shipments to come in. I forgot where, what canal it was, but that blocked for a while. So a lot of ships could not get past or get through. So that already delayed enough of folks trying to get their things over here. And in this particular case, when you mess up a machine in a certain way and how it's moving, it takes a while for it to readjust itself. So you start to see these buildups of stuff. And I'm going to also say this too. I may be completely wrong, but also what's going on in Long Beach, because the Port of Los Angeles is very close to Long Beach, because of what's going on in Huntington Beach around in that area too, with all that oil coming out into the water, things of that nature. There's a lot of work that's going down with that. So some of your favorite food spots and chains and things may not have a lot of materials, because a lot of that stuff is backed up, at least in California. A lot of it's backed up right here. It can't be shipped anywhere. And you got folks waiting in lines to go, or not folks, but a lot of the truckers just to get 1 or 2 loads, and it's taking up to 7 to 9 hours. And then if this not in California and they got to drive all the way across to Indiana or any other place, you can see how that ends up having a longer shortage of stuff. As well as it says the global system was not ready for shutdowns and labor shortages. Yes, agreed. Labor shortages cause of vaccine mandates. Yes, that too. Look at, we're just not helping. And the thing is, sometimes we look at the big majority issue was going on versus looking at the small issues that lead up to it, and knowing that it's basically going down to that root. So a lot of this is because of what has happened with the pandemic, as well as we have with the mandates going on, as well as when you back something up for a while, it takes a while for things to get right back on schedule. So you're going to have a number of things all piled on top of each other. Like he said, it ended up saying that it was a bottleneck. Like you can see that it's like 60 plus ships sitting out there waiting just to put some of the transporting of these foods and things out over there, but they can't, because then also a lot of the warehouses are also full. So it's like, okay, where do you go with this stuff? Now we're gonna have people sitting there waiting. So that means a lot of gas is being wasted, a lot of time, a lot of effort, as well as, a lot of, again, rebuilding and getting things back on schedule, because a lot of this is going on. But yeah, that's that there. Last thing for y'all, because I'm already running over more into this news, but the last thing I got for y'all, and we can go to the next topic, is this is coming from the House. In this article, it's from CNN, and it reads, House approves debt ceiling extension throughout early December. Now, why is this important? Is because this is dealing with what we talk about with inflation and about, funding and the money, as well as the Federal Reserve doing what they need to do to cut down on costs and trying to balance out things because of all of this is going on. So it's going on. But let's get into this article, 2 paragraphs, and we're out. So from CNN article, it reads, the House of Representatives approved an extension of the nation's debt limit throughout early December after the Senate passed the stopgap measure last week in a bid to avert a catastrophic default or economic disaster, basically a government shutdown again, like what happened prior years. Now the Democratic-controlled House has passed the short-term extension. It is cleared for President Joe Biden's signature. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen has warned lawmakers that the federal government would likely run out of cash by October 18th unless Congress raised the debt ceiling, setting up for a ticking clock and high stakes. So for us, I forgot our debt ceiling is around like 28 trillion. There might be more. And as of right now, we went past it by 0.4. So it's like 28 trillion was our debt ceiling, and where we're at is 28 trillion point 4. So we've hit that ceiling. So they're trying to do this so then again they won't default, bankrupt, and have to run out of cash. They're running out of cash. Again, running out of cash. Boom. Congress may not even have had that long to act, since the deadline is more of a best guess estimate than a set in stone deadline. That dynamic intensified pressure on Democrats and Republicans to reach a deal to address the debt limit. But the temporary debt limit extension is only a short-term fix and sets up another looming potential fiscal crisis later this year when it runs out. So we are just putting on debt on top of debt on top of debt on top of debt. But the way that the debt is being managed is that it's literally starting to become more apparent year by year, just greatly. So it's crazy. But yeah, y'all, that was the last article. I'm not going to do any more because I want to get to these topics. I appreciate y'all's time, support again. Shouts out to everyone that's here and your continued, inclusion, as well as your thoughts, and you writing them down in the comments. So thank you for the participation. This article again from CNN Politics, and the article's headline was House approves debt ceiling extensions throughout early December. And that was that there. All right, y'all. Let me get into these comments and then we're going to move to the next topic. But let's see. Boom. Yes. Let me show you this. Here in Canada, we have a vaccine mandates coming in effect on October 15th. Same. That's over here too, as well as November for other places too. But now it's being delayed because the system will crash if they do that. The U.S. is starting to see the same thing, brother. But it is what it is. Vaccine mandates for healthcare workers. Sorry, just for healthcare workers. Because they're very important. They're very vital to this. Like, people, all of us, we have a role to play. And when you mess with the fabric of that, including when you're taking away people's independence to choose and to do things, and you're leaving them with little to no options, you need to be careful. That's it. I'm just saying there's a way to always approach situations and a problem. And I know due to what was shown on the media and the news, the way to approach this has been extremely detrimental, which is done honestly more bad than good. They say, oh, things have went up here and things have, stopped in certain places. But just the overall morale or how everybody feels when it comes to the climate with the pandemic and stuff, I can definitely tell you there's a lot more people who's against all of the stuff that's going on, or they really see that it's been a bad situation versus a lot of people saying, oh, it's getting so much better. So I'm with you on that, but you got to look at that. Doesn't Biden want a 3.5 trillion plan or something? It was something, G. I know what you're talking about. I read a bit on that. So they could have some more money coming for other different things. So I'm with you on that. I think, yes, he does. I just not too sure. I don't want to set that in stone. Boom. Brother says, the cash is figurative. The debt ceiling is essentially infinite. But they dig this economic grave every year. Agreed. The debt isn't real, essentially. I will agree to disagree with that, brother, because the way that we look at it, of course, it could be infinite, but the way how money is moved, that's what it is. It's debt regardless. So I get you when it's not real, but in the sense of how they're using how much money they want to circulate with it, there's always going to be debt. That doesn't necessarily mean that, you shouldn't ever default or anything, but it's because the more that you keep printing out, the more principal on top of that money that you print out is going to be there. So it's always going to be that extra that you're never going to be able to pay off. So it's always going to be debt. But depending on how you want to keep rising the ceiling is how much you want to do that. How I see it and other people see it, there's never going to be a time where we're fully paid off when it comes to the debt, because of just how the dollar system works. It's going to continue to just expand and expand. So it can be infinite in that way, but I still see it as there's debt for sure. I mean, you pay percentage for having a debt. And it can be beneficial if you don't go over a specific amount. Yeah, but again, the way how money is set up, depending on how you have it, and that's why the system that we have, there has to be winners and losers. There's no way to be like everybody's around on the same, lines when it comes to stuff. Somebody always has to be making more, and others can't. So, this money stuff is crazy, y'all. That's all I gotta say. Boom. Because we do owe specific banks, I believe. Yes, and a lot of that's privatized. Thanks, the Federal Reserve and things and stuff of that nature. This is not really coming out only just from us nationally. This is from private-owned banks. So there's a whole history. You can look this up not only on Google, but also on YouTube. There's a whole setup of what the Federal Reserve and other things are. There's a book, the Creature from Jekyll Hyde, all of these other, Jekyll Island, I should say, not Hyde, but Jekyll Island. There's so much literature on this that talks about the Federal Reserve and the whole idea of this money and banking system that we have. But yeah, for real, we're acting like things are normal when the planet is literally dying. Yeah. Well, we've been affecting Mother Nature and Father Time so much to a point that it's just ridiculous. Saying, here's my question. Who is going to pay for off-Earth global debt? Jupiter? Money makes no sense. Hey, and if I misquote this, y'all can get on me about it, but I heard this quote. It came from someone telling me about what Elon Musk said, and basically Elon Musk is like, we're trying to go and conquer Mars. That's the next thing. So, I mean, if y'all have ever played, there is an app of a game. It's called Venture Capitalist. If y'all look that up, I feel like that's how things are going to get paid for stuff. They're going to try to use some of the money from the U.S. to go and fund what's going on at Mars. And then there's going to be a whole new setup of a money system, which cryptocurrencies seems like there's a thing with that going on. But there's so much going on. There's so much of that. It said, the U.S. borrows money from other countries. Yes. But yeah, it does get confusing because you can lend infinite amounts. Basically, and it's going to be just continued amounts of debt. Well, yes, y'all. I appreciate that. Now, let's go ahead and close out this news, and let's move on to the next topic, which is a very open-ended one. But the next topic that we are going to be talking about is A.R.T. The acronym stands for Actualizing Real Time. So, some folks, if y'all want to, you can come in during this time here. Just know that, again, this will be on YouTube. If you're not comfortable being on YouTube, then in the comments, you can stay and also still interact that way. But if you would like to come on, you're more than welcome to do so. But y'all going to be asking, like, okay, what do you mean by actualizing real time and breaking it down to art? Well, it's going to run in line with the last question. Like, again, I tell y'all, every time I pair these up with the last topics for them to make sense together. So, when we look at the word A.R.T, art, we look at something that's very creative. We look at something that it brings out not only the imagination and the creation within us, but also it can pertain to how we interact with people and how we display what we're feeling from the inside in a very creative way. Now, in terms of what does it mean by actualizing real time, with your art, you can basically actualize, either if we're talking about Maslow's hierarchy of needs, or actualize as in actually being present, and it's here within this time frame that we will call time. Which, okay, you're like, okay, what the heck does that mean? So basically creating something and actually bringing it to existence within this real time. And sitting down to be able to do that and to share it with other people within that same time. That's what we will call art. It's actualizing what you're able to create within this real time. I call that art. So honestly, in this acronym, anything that you're able to think up and bring into this existence would be art. It's interesting. Like, there's, like, for example, like literally folks who are chefs, who are cooks, Salt Bay and all these other dudes. Like, I can't think off the top of my head right now, but literally they take their time in real time. They're actualizing, okay, this is the type of food, this is the, the recipe and things that we're creating. And through that, literally they're creating an art form with their food. That's why there's culinary arts. If you get what I'm talking about, culinary arts is another way for cooking, you know? So what I'm saying with, with this and actualizing real time is a question that I want to throw that out to everybody is, how are you using your time to really actualize things? How to really put that forward, because we can have these creative processes. Again, we have our left side of our brain, which is more logical, and the right side of our brain, which is where the creative center, a lot of things work. But sometimes we can get to a point where we're so creative that we don't bring anything to fruition. It's just sitting there in the back of your mind. I know for producers or people who make beats and sometimes even poems, you have so many great ideas and you have so many points of references that you want to be like, yo, I can make that, I can make this. But what ends up happening is you have an over amount of those things to a point where you don't actualize action, putting in the time and the effort within a real time. And you literally lose out on bringing that to the world. So you're not actualizing it in real time. You're just literally like, okay, it's there, but you're not putting in the actual points to let it show itself and be revealed. Again, in a physical form, because we can talk about it. Of course, it's already in your head, so you already actualized it in your head, but more so manifesting it into a real form. But let me see. I'm gonna continue, but let's see these comments here. I like the second one because it turns out Maslow's hierarchy is actually upside down because he colonized it from indigenous people. Hey, again, however you want to end up taking this, I'm interpreting. This is the way I'm interpreting art for, in my particular case, is actualizing real time, whatever that may be for you. If actualization means that you're being at the top, the bottom, wherever it is of the pyramid, which basically means that you have grown to be a higher or better version of yourself, which you see a better or best version. You see what I do? I tell you, I do this stuff on purpose. Okay. These topics go together on purpose, but that's why I'm saying either the way you want to define actualizing real time, whether it does have to do with being or growing to be a better version of yourself, or actualizing as in you're actually taking time to build on stuff. Are you talking about actual art as in what artists do? When you mean of something that's exact, it means it is there. It is what it is, and it is what you've made it. But in the physical form of it, that's what I'm speaking of, more so as it's physically done. Like literally in the form of a book, in a form of a painting. Yes, not only artists, but what I'm interpreting and giving to y'all. And again, you can be like, okay, I don't agree, or okay, this does make sense. I like the first part of it, but not the second part. Is just letting you know that almost anything and everything that you can put your time and effort into real time, you can create art. And shout outs to the brother right now, Zoe the Motivator, in the building, who got some dope art when it comes to not only their profile picture, but also the music that they put out. So shout outs to Zoe the Motivator in here. But yes, you can talk about artists, but I'm talking about even everyday people. Like literally in anything that you can do, you can create an art out of it. It just depends on how you put it together. That's what I'm really trying to say when it comes to actualizing real time. That's why you call nursing an art and a science. Yeah. I mean, if I really want to break it down to y'all, if you go to university or you go to school, there's literally either you get a BA or a BS, or in one of those particular acronyms, but one of those would be a bachelor's in arts of whatever degree you're getting, and the other one be a bachelor's in science or whatever degree you're getting. There's a reason why the word art is used so much, not only to just display creativity, but literally in whatever type of expertise or field that you are in, it is an art. And you're actualizing your skills in real time to help with a problem, basically becoming a part of the solution, and that is your art. The way that you interact with patients is an art. That's the art of being a human being, or that's the art of rapport. But again, we don't necessarily use the word art in that particular way on an everyday, because we more so, when we think of the word art, we think of something more creative, not just necessarily an everyday thing. Not knowing that literally every day that you do something, whether you're leaving your home and you're driving on a freeway, you get into your job, Or even if you're interacting with somebody at a food spot or at a market, it's always just about the way that you move about using your real time and actualizing that, which is basically you're actually doing something to push yourself further, is an art. That's why there's a thing called the art of living. Like literally day-to-day living in your life is an art of living. Because literally there is not one way to live this life. There is multitude of ways to live this life. Whether you believe in a higher power, whether if you don't, whether if you have a car, whether if you have an airplane, whether you are a kid, whether if you're an old adult, whether if there's a multitude of different possibilities of this art of living. So my whole thing with just breaking down this acronym in particular was to show you that literally life itself is an art, and the way that you live it is an art. But you wouldn't necessarily think about that on a day-to-day basis because of the fact that you think it's mundane, you think it's boring. When again, when we say, a picture is worth 1,000 words, and it's really up to the person who interprets that piece of art to whether say that, it's interesting or boring to them. That's just how life is. That's why we literally, when people ask your lifestyle and what you end up doing, sometimes people say that, oh, I don't necessarily do that. That seems boring to others. You think that, oh, that actually is kind of interesting. I like that. That's literally still an art form, the way that you live your life. And you show that to people. Because at the end of the day, you leave a legacy. You leave behind a whole slew of experiences that end up shaping and creating, what your life is. So, yeah, man. I mean, that's particularly why, at least for me, I like to break down to A.R.T of basically saying you're actualizing in real time. If you're able to do that in a very effective manner, just your life is that art because you're actualizing. You're taking your time to really bring something and manifest it. Basically, whether if it's through goals, whether it's through how you interact with people, on how you solve certain issues. Or, it's a long possibilities, but just trying to remind you, that, well, your everyday life is an art. And for you to create a better or to create art that will last forever or, again, be classic, you must take that time to actually put in the effort within this real time to leave about something that will be centuries and centuries old and revered throughout time. You can look back at the Renaissance. Yes, we're talking more so when it comes to art, poetry, music, and architecture. Architecture, we know that is definitely an art. Even in its name, art. Architecture, well, it doesn't have the T, but architecture. But a lot of these things around us, it has those type of arts to it. People's processes and how they break things down is an art. Not only how you break down things in your mind, but literally how masons, people who create bricklayers and create concrete, those who work construction folks, that's all an art because it all takes skill. But again, my main point that I'm driving across with the whole idea of actualizing real time is just knowing that your life is an art, and the way you go about using your time, creating the skills, creating those experiences, and creating basically the world that's around you, you get to see the finer picture of what your art is. But you got to be willing to actually put in the time and effort to create your art, because it's not going to create itself. I mean, unless you have the cheat codes to life and you're able to just sit back and let it create itself. I mean, but right now you got to get up out there and create your own art. Whether that's you the day in and day out, your role in work. Maybe you're the funny one. Maybe you're the most outspoken one. Like whatever it may end up being, I'm just letting you know that your life is just not, your life has meaning. I'm going to leave it there. Your life has meaning. If it's boring, mundane, whatever it is, there is a meaning to that art and to the madness. But you got to be able to actualize and take your time to look for it and to find that. But yes, let me see. We got some more in these comments. And again, you're more than welcome, anyone, to come in and join. Because usually most of the time, I'm just going off of the top and just really, I'll have some of a brief idea of what I'm going to talk about, but not necessarily. Because this is really more, again, discussion and reason based, going back and forth with more folks. So you're more than welcome to come join in. But let's see. Boom. So how do you interact with people? How you interact with people as an artist self? Yes, exactly. As you're saying earlier, yes. You go on psychedelic trips and see God in an ashtray. Hey, those are actually rituals in different native communities, as well as, ancestral things of literally, using psychedelics to help you reach a higher consciousness and purpose, as well as some use it as a way to also cleanse. I mean, that's why you have your shamans, you have your witch doctors, you have a lot of these folks that are able to take you on these trips to help you experience something that's higher past this, so that maybe you might have more questions to, okay, what is truly my art? How do I really use my time to create something that will leave a lasting effect in this world? Whether it is just me being, Bob down the street, and people know Bob for being the most creative worker at wherever he is, and that they can rely on him, and that he's consistent. But yes, that's why there's a whole thing of the natural herbs and, again, et cetera, with that stuff. But thank you for that. Yes, sir. What about meaning and expressing empathy? I mean, that's a part of everybody's art. It's different. Some people may not even use empathy. And again, you can say, oh, there's missing pieces, or like you should be able to use empathy and things and stuff like that. But basically, that's what I said it earlier, but I think you already put it before, was that's what your art does. It helps you find your meaning. It's helping you actualize your real time. You're just not sitting down on a couch. You're not sitting, in your chair, just laying in your bed all day, not doing anything. Your art is needed for you to continue going on. So for people, if you can't find your purpose, find your art. Find what you're good at. Find those skills, build on them, and that ends up becoming your purpose and your goals. You'll find that out. We talked about that in episodes way back when on how to identify your purpose and define your purpose. But literally just knowing that art is a part of that. Whether it is finding that meaning or expressing your empathy through it. So architecture is definitely an art. Yes. There's so many different, because there's different types. Those are specific, not just skill sets, but those are characteristics that are so different. You have your Roman, you have your Gothic, you have your marble, you have like your postmodern, you have your modern. Like there's a number of different ways that you can do that with architecture, because even alchemy in itself is an art. The way that you're able to manipulate, change, and form certain things, that's an art itself. Magic, all of that, etc. But again, from the way that I'm expressing it using the acronym of actualizing real time, it's more so of the actualizing part is, it's there now. How am I going to go about making it or creating it to go further? And then real time is just basically talking about now, as you're moving along right now, that's what's happening. So that's really more so where I'm using that whole acronym, is like, what are you actually creating and manifesting right now in this real time to help you push and propel further? Again, so that's how I'm using that. And I'm saying that your life is an art, because you're actualizing your real time. You're using your time effectively to create things that you can undoubtedly leave later on in this life and look back on like it's a big grand canvas and masterpiece because of all the experiences and things that you've done. But again, art is not going to create itself if you do not actually put the time and the effort to do so. But yes, so there's also a false time. What's real time compared to false time? When I'm talking about real time, we're talking about just the actual now, not in the whole binaries of, what's like real and what's false, because we can go on and on about what's real and what's false, and when it comes to time zones and various different things. But yeah, hey brother, it's midnight out here, but man, there's school tomorrow. Much love. See you soon. I appreciate you coming up and just being here with the brother. So man, go get your sleep. Much appreciate your time, and we'll check in. All right, let's see who we getting here. But yeah, that's a really good question though.
Hello.
Yo, what's going
Hey,
on, Kundan? What's the word?
what's the word?
Yes. So your question, which if y'all don't know, It's Kundan. Please go follow. If you're on Instagram and you're right here watching now, I'm not a spelling bee champ, but you can go click in there and you can find it. It's Akashic Consultant.
Classic consultant.
Yes. So please look that in there and follow Kundan. But
Yeah,
how are you doing?
I'm doing good. Um, I just, I don't, you probably know that I'm fascinated by sleep and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And recently I discovered this combo, substance combo where I already knew about 5-HTP, but if you combine 5-HTP with vitamin C and vitamin B6, those three together, it turns out to be a very simple combo for enhancing sleep and helping you sleep.
Mm. Does it
As far
have
as supplements go, yeah,
okay. So
yeah.
it supplements in a way of it mimics melatonin?
No, actually, 5-HTP is the precursor to serotonin,
Interesting.
which is the neurotransmitter that relaxes you.
Okay.
So there is so vitamin C. So there's another substance in the body. I forgot the name. Vitamin C turns this other substance into 5-HTP,
Okay.
and then the vitamin B6 in turn turns the 5-HTP into serotonin. So when you combine, and
Mm.
also 5-HTP already exists naturally in the body, just like serotonin also naturally exists.
Yes.
So basically, if you combine it with vitamin C, it basically enhances the natural production of 5-HTP as well.
Okay.
Yeah,
So y'all got a quick little science lesson when it comes to that and sleep.
yeah, and of course, supplements are a last resort for me. I did a whole post on this where you do the cortisol differential and the sunlight differential and all of that, and those help. And then if you do it concurrently with supplements or occasionally, that helps. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, appreciate that.
Hmm.
But now, what? Because I know you had a few questions and some responses in the comments. But is there anything that you want me to make a little bit more clear when it comes to what I'm talking about when it comes to actualizing real time or art?
Yeah, I was wondering about, the definitions. Real time,
Mm-hmm.
I think, is a term used in, um, especially with uh, technologies like Zoom and
Mm.
Skype as they started forming.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about, I think that's when people started using the term real time, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where because there's a delay sometimes with Zoom and even IG Live, right? There's a slight delay.
Yes.
Uh,
Yes.
Sometimes it's not so slight. I think it's 20 seconds on IG Live.
23.
Uh, 23, you
I've had to count
calculated,
it.
huh?
I had to count it.
Yeah,
So it can
yeah.
vary. It can vary, but at most I've seen it go up to 23, but I'll say the variations between 18 seconds of a delay up to 23. It might be more depending on
So
your
clearly
internet.
IG Live is not real time, but it's close enough.
Yes.
Okay. So is that what you're referring to, or is it something more?
So real time in the aspect of how we talk about time with time zones and things of that nature, but
Mm-hmm.
as in being in the moment. So usually this doesn't mean it's not taking into consideration technology and other stuff, but it's
Mm-hmm.
what you do on a day-to-day basis within this real of this time that we're using. So like as of the present.
Mm-hmm.
Because I mean, I couldn't put in A.R.T something else and it still be called art. That's what happens when you try to
Yeah.
create an acronym and you put your meaning
Mm-hmm.
behind it. You got to be able to, you know, add in all the other extra
Yeah.
little holes that are in
Mm-hmm.
there. But yeah, when I mean by real time, I'm more so just talking about the present and what you're doing in real
Mm.
life. Like hopefully there's no glitches and stuff within real life when I mean you're at work and you ask your boss a question and then your boss is like, yeah, And it was like, wait, what? Like, no, I wouldn't necessarily talk about it in that sense when it comes to technology, but more so what you do presently and how you actually take that present time, that real time, and what you're creating.
Yeah, just be present, right? It's uh, and even that is difficult, right? Because if you think about it technically, uh, what you see is is already the past because there's a delay in the light reflecting off objects and
Yes.
hitting your eye and then informing your brain that you see.
Yeah.
So in reality, by the time you see something, even the objects in the room, it's already in the past. Now, if you think about stars,
Mm-hmm.
uh, they're billions of years old, so the stars that you see,
Mm-hmm.
you're actually seeing the past. In
Mm-hmm.
fact, a friend of mine did something for his friend's parents on their, I believe, their 27th anniversary. It was so romantic. He decided to find a star, the light from a star that came 27 years ago when they were first married,
Hmm.
and they did a lot of research and they eventually found that star, and that was the present they gave to the parents for their anniversary.
Oh
The
wow.
light from that moment when they were married.
Wow. That's extensive. But man,
Uh-huh.
that must have been real bright.
Hmm. Yeah, so yeah, real time, right? So even our eyes technically, and even our ears, our senses technically don't are not receiving real time. So
Yeah.
it's really interesting. And that is why practices like meditation are so important, right? Where it's a, it's a, it's a quest to really uh, search for presence for real time,
Yes.
right? Because we assume, human beings, we assume that just because we see and hear and we're seeing and hearing
Yes.
uh, within a few seconds of each other, that we're truly being in the present, that this is the present, but actually, this is already the past.
Yes. I mean, that's where we can, go back and forth and go even deeper
Yeah.
into the whole thing about just time itself, on top of just not
Mm-hmm.
only the idea of what is real and what isn't. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I always say it, and people see it too, as time is just an illusion. It's a man-made concept because we have like
Mm-hmm.
15 different time zones, or not multiple different time zones,
Mm-hmm.
hundreds all over the place, and it depends on the area, the position, and the latitude, longitude of where you're located on this earth. So not everybody's time zone is the same, but we try to find equivalents, and that's why we have like Central Standard Time or this other type of standard time and Pacific Standard Time, and there's all these different variations of what we're trying to figure
Right.
out what
Mm-hmm.
time is. And mainly that's why I kept it with just really the present, and you learn how to ground yourself. So I mean, literally, it's hard to put a measure on particular time, as in, when I was there with the kids out playing, in the park, you remember that time? Like, you weren't remembering specifically, oh yeah, it was about 3:47 p.m. and we were at this coordinates at this long. Like, nope, I'm not gonna say nobody. Because there gonna probably be somebody out there that'll try to disprove you and be like, no, I did all of the verifications and all of the analysis on this is where it was at what time. I mean, cool, but on a typical norm, ain't nobody doing that. But
Mm-hmm.
when you think of what you're doing and creating within that present moment, there's no way you're going to be able to describe it within an aspect of time. It's just how we do it by moments. So I could have said moments, but again, when we talk about using the words within it to create an acronym, you have to flesh it out and give it some more room so that people go, okay, that's what you're talking about. So honestly, the real
Mm-hmm.
time is just really talking about the moments, because creativity can be at anywhere at any point in time,
Hey, Prithvi.
and you don't necessarily know, okay, I'll always create art around, or always create a poem at 5 p.m. Which time
Mm-hmm.
though? Pacific Standard Time, Eastern Standard Times, Central Standard Time. Like, it gets to a point where it's just like, yes, we can go into learning about all the other different time zones, all what's real and what's not, and that we know that we literally are getting you know, even when we listen to each other or even listening to music and stuff, we don't get the origin of it. We get the feedback from where it's coming from because it's bouncing off different places within your house or where you're at, and that's where you receive that. So that's why for you, your voice necessarily, you may not necessarily, you know, not like, but your voice might sound different to you when you record it to a microphone versus when you're speaking to somebody else, because you are not the receiver. You are you're going to get that back from, you know, again, from the feedback versus we're the ones that's receiving it. So we're getting it from the initial right when we get it. If you get it what I mean. So
Yeah, I heard that some people don't like their voice because it sounds weird or different when they
yes.
hear the recording. And it turns out it's because I forget which one it is, but like our real voice is either a higher pitch or lower pitch, I don't remember, from what we perceive it to be.
Yes.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
a lot of that has to do with again, how you set up your concept and your idea and stuff of what time is. And then I mean with feedback and sound, that's something that's been into the universe and things way before when. So that's why there's different variations, there's different equations, again, quantum mechanics, all this other different stuff that we can try to go deep into when it comes to science, which at the same time it's also an art because there's just so much stuff going on with it. But we don't want to always necessarily get too focused and too just only centered on all the specifics, because again, then we could continue to keep going down this rabbit hole all day and not necessarily get to at least a foundation. That's all it really is with
Yeah.
a lot of this stuff. It's just a foundation of things and just letting people know and see and telling them that ultimately, if you're actually able to create and take time to manifest something, whether if it's you and how you work with your skills, with your, you know, attributes and your characteristics to help create something, then you are creating art, whatever it is. And really the main whole idea with that too is because when people think of art, they think of seeing something that's beautiful, majestic, it's wonderful. You know, sometimes it could be art can be ugly as well too, but most of the time when people first think of art, it's something that's beautiful. So just knowing that for those folks too who may be feeling a certain way about life and how things are set up and how it may look this ugly and you just don't want to be a part of it, just know that literally that your life is an art. It is beautiful and it is up to you to create that. So just know that it is not mundane, it is not boring, and that your life is not worth it. It definitely is. It's a piece of art that is priceless. So living it in the art of living is worth it. So like that's also the again one of the other pieces in why I created, or at least I said when it comes to art actualizing in real time, it gets to that main point of knowing that art is beautiful and that you are beautiful within how you display your art in your life. So don't just throw it away. And I'm not saying
Yeah.
again, people have their challenges, but that's just a reminder.
Yeah, there's a reason why I brought this up, which I'll come back. Because I've been watching a lot of Yuval Noah Harari videos and how he often talks about how we think we know ourselves, we think we have free will, but we actually don't. And increasingly, we have less and less with the merging of artificial intelligence and biotechnology and pattern recognition and machine learning. There will come a time when you know the oldest advice in the book, right? That's thousands of years old. Is know thyself, right? Know yourself. But the kings and queens of ancient days were not our competition. Like when it comes to knowing yourself, we never had any real competition, so we had all the time in the world. But
Yes.
now we have real competition where AI can know yourself better than you know yourself. And it doesn't even have to be perfect. It doesn't have to know a lot about yourself. It only has to know a little bit more about
Mm-hmm.
yourself than you do.
Mm-hmm.
And he gives a really good example. And the reason is because most people don't know themselves. That's why the competition only has to be a little bit better than you,
Yep.
right? Like he gave a really good example of him not realizing that he was gay until he was 21, right?
Hmm.
So this very big important thing about himself that you would imagine he could have known when he was 15 or 16. He didn't know until he was 21.
Yeah.
But let's say there was an algorithm that could track his eye movements, right?
Yeah.
When he's on the beach or even when he's online, like, surfing the web, right? And the tracking software would notice that uh, given a picture of a man and a woman, his eyes would go more often towards the man, right?
Mm.
And so it would deduce correctly that he was gay even before he does. Then Coca-Cola, when it gets hold of that ad, would be like, instead of sending him pictures of, sexy women drinking Coca-Cola, they would send him pictures of shirtless men, right? With huge biceps and things like that. And and then one day he would go to the supermarket, and instead of buying Pepsi, he would buy Coca-Cola, and he would think it's his own decision, right?
Mm.
And he wouldn't even know that it was because of the ad.
Mm. The influence, yes.
Yeah.
Um, I'm so glad that you shared that too. And knowing at least later on down the line, it's already what's been transpiring as life has continued, and part of it too is because us being so curious as the species that we are, we start to really go into, now we're getting to, again, a lot of the specifics of everything down to the T of you as a being. I mean, a lot of the technologies and stuff that we created were all inspired, not only just by us creating it, but certain parts of us. Like I always say about the computer, being it's basically a replica of the brain, being able to process, being able to have different thoughts and creativity, information, etc. You could say the same thing about that's what a car is. A car is a vessel. We say this body is a vessel. So a number of things in technology is mimicking the human body or just the like human as a as a species. And what ends up happening is later on down the line, you have different studies, you have different types of art that is displaying and using that to figure out, okay, what are we truly all the way down to the core, almost searching, yes, for that meaning, but at the same time of all the processes, because ultimately, and you see it happening, that's why you have artificial intelligence. That's why you have Tesla robots. That's why you have drones. You have all these other different type of things coming out, because what's happening is that they're starting to mimic not only um, life itself, but mimic us in reality. So a lot of it basically moving from natural state of things to an unnatural state of things. But when you are there in that unnatural state, you start to figure and wonder why something doesn't feel right, or you feel like you're missing out on things and you're not picking up information and certain cues like you usually would. And part of that is because of the fact that we're not using all of our DNA potential to the max. So some of that is not being quote unquote awakened because we're not putting ourselves in those situations for that to happen. And again, it's all great and well to be able to again figure all this stuff out. But what is the intention behind all of that? For us to know, okay, every time I look up 10 times, that means I'm daydreaming. So I must be trying to think about something else besides what I'm doing right now. I mean, that's great information to have, but what's the intention behind that informed decision, and what is that going to ultimately help with? Is that going to help me understand life better? Is that going to help me know that, oh, I need to start planting trees outside in the backyard? Is that going to tell me, well, I need to, stop watching sexual content more? Like what are the the measures behind trying to mimic and pinpoint every single type of quirk in human life, what is that going to help for people and help them inform them with stuff like that? But shouts out to the brother Sincerely Notes the Truth in the building, as well as the film Wicked Jasmine and Reflection Error. Good to see y'all up in here. What's the word? Let me know how y'all feeling in the comments. We just still talking about right now. We're talking about the whole idea of A.R.T art, which basically is actualizing real time and ultimately letting you know that your life is an art and the way that you live it is beautiful, so it is worth living. But go ahead, Kundan.
Yeah, the reason why I brought it up is because art is about both expressing yourself and a form of knowing yourself or exploring yourself, right? And I think that's, like really,
What's
really,
good?
hey,
Yo,
what's
what's going
up?
on, brother?
How you doing?
And
Living and
going back
learning.
to the real time, right?
Mm-hmm.
Part of how you know yourself is to be willing to be present with yourself and be in that real time. Like
Yes.
one of the things
Joe
Harari talks
Bruce.
about is like you have to increase your ability to stay with boredom and to be bored with yourself,
Yes.
or even in talking to people, to stay in those moments of the so-called awkward silence, to be able to stay longer in those periods. And meditation can be a form of that, but it doesn't even have to be. Like you can go hiking for 3 hours, and that can be your way of staying with the discomfort of knowing yourself.
Yes.
Because it's not always rainbows. You're going to find some painful patterns about yourself, things you don't like about yourself,
Yes.
right? And
Mm-hmm.
that's one of the reasons that stop people from trying to know themselves. The boredom is like the first self-defense, the first line of defense
Yes.
that is protecting you actually from knowing all of the bad things, all the painful things about yourself
Yes.
that you don't want to know, that you've kept hidden even from yourself.
Yep. That's very true.
Mm-hmm.
Brother Notes, I'm sorry, I didn't let you know. If you're cool with it, my shows usually go on YouTube. I mean, and if you're okay with me putting that up with you on there, just let me know. All right, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, and then I'm gonna let you come in to Notes, and I'll tell you what we're talking about. But
Yeah,
off the point.
right. I'm gonna keep it real with you right now.
Mm-hmm.
I'm listening. I'm playing Destiny, chilling. You know, what I mean? I'm just keeping it real with you. I'm just,
Oh,
I'm
brother,
just listening.
it's all good. It's all good. I appreciate you again coming in and vibing. But
We're
right now we talking about I have turned art into an acronym, which I called it actualizing real time. And my whole premise and idea around it is basically letting you know that the way that you live your art, there's an art in gaming, yes. So like every part
Yes.
and aspect within your life can be considered an art. And I was basically letting people know is the way
Both
that you
creating the
actualize it,
game and
you take
playing
your
the game.
time. Yes, the way that you take your time into creating and moving forward with stuff like that within real time, you're creating that art, and it has to be done. You have to do something, and to let people
back.
know too if they're feeling a certain way about themselves, like they're downing whatever themselves. You have those defeating thoughts and stuff of that nature. To let you know that there's an art of living. So there's knowing that even you living is an art itself, and that it's a beautiful art, and you should continue to do so because the more that you live, the more that you create this bigger canvas and picture of art.
Yeah, facts.
Yeah.
Speaking of that, I was gonna wait until to Friday, but I'm just gonna say it now. So me and me and
Uh-oh.
Phase, me and Phase, we were talking. So I'm back on DistroKid and stuff like that, and I really appreciate you
Nice.
following my music and stuff.
Of
I'm on
course, brother.
Spotify,
That
but
Linkin Park remix? Oh, dude, that was
um,
fire, bro.
I appreciate it.
Mm.
But me Vic, and me Phase, and a homie, Mr. Ito, we got there's a single coming out, and it's called Beyond the Void. That's coming soon. Oh, what up,
Mm.
G? Yo,
What's
what
going on,
up?
y'all?
So,
What's
He's like,
up?
I heard my name. Wait.
Yeah,
Oh, you're spoiling.
yeah.
Wait, you spoiling. Hold on. I'm just
so
playing.
I'm I actually I was talking to Phase about this, Phasefarer. I actually started my own little label. So my little label is called Six Rings of Poetry.
Mm.
So the reason why I created like
Kim,
Know the
what's
Truth
up?
because when I rap and stuff like that, I rap about the stuff that I've seen, I've
Yes.
been through, felt. You know what I mean? I really I do my best not to put bullshit in my rhymes. You know what I mean? So like it's
Mm-hmm.
and I love poetry. So
Mm-hmm.
the six rings of poetry. You know, honest, truth. You know, love and all
Hmm.
that. Like, I'm still working on the little details and stuff, but more and more and stuff like that. I will be pushing that out more. So yeah,
Yo, congrats on that, brother. Thank you for sharing that.
hey, I
Dang.
appreciate
Shoot, it's only Wednesday, man. So I appreciate that.
it.
Um, yo,
It's been a hellified day for me today too. Like no lie, it's been had some ups and downs, but then towards the end of it, it just got better, a lot better.
Oh,
there it
reflection.
is.
What's up? What's up? What's up, man?
Oh yeah, that's my brother right there, yo. I had told him because look at
Yeah.
my brother. This is my brother, dude. He also is very creative when it comes to some art stuff. He's actually me. He knows there's an idea I have also for a quote unquote label and group, and he knows that he's a part of it when I do create it. But he writes scripts, and he also does a lot of video things, my G. So like when
Trust me,
I
dog.
sent him and put that of your music and stuff, I know there's some certain types of sounds that he likes. So he had told me, he was like, "Yo, I kept replaying this, bro. This is dope." Like, I'm like, "Hey, but did you tell FaZe that? Don't tell me. Tell him that." So
I
Oh man,
appreciate
I
it,
appreciate
man.
it so much,
I really
man. And on that note, from my script peoples and my writers, y'all really gonna enjoy the next one. The next, I have an album dropping in November. Kind of made for, at least I made it in the mind of making score and works. So
mm,
get your
I'm
ass on the
definitely
street.
waiting for that. But I wanted to give a big shout out to Kundan too. I was gonna wait to hop in because I just honestly I love your insight. So I just
yeah,
like to sit and kind of watch and listen.
yes,
But then these mofos summoned me, so I had to hop in.
Hey man.
But much love, light, and respect to you, Kundan.
yes,
Yeah, I'll be definitely trying to catch the next writing workshop. I'm gonna try to catch some of
Yeah,
it.
the next one is this Saturday at 5:45 p.m. And most likely I'll be on Instagram Live for just 15 minutes and then switch over to Zoom. And I think I'll put the Zoom link in my bio. I think that's how I'll do it because uh, I don't trust Instagram Live. It always like cuts me out. So I'm like,
Yeah,
Yeah,
Instagram Live be
yeah,
tripping. When me and
yeah,
FaZe, we were
yeah.
speaking facts. Next thing you know, they cut the whole feed. I'm just like, bruh.
yeah, that was weird. That was very weird. That live because it kept cutting out. We're like, is it because of the content? What?
that as well as sometimes
Sometimes,
I tell y'all sometimes too. There's ghost watchers too. And what I
Mm.
mean by ghost watchers is sometimes like you can pop in, like I periodically check, but you'll see like a one up there, like as in you see somebody's watching, but then you look and see that nobody's in there watching. There's some ghost watchers in there kind of like they're going around just like watching who's live right now, and who knows, cut the plug that
that's
way too.
probably the secret mods, probably
Yeah.
the secret moderators. Yeah.
Hmm.
Oh, I ain't gonna lie. I almost had a dumb moment. I was waiting for Ghost. I was like, hey, I don't play with spirits. I
No,
ain't
not
gonna
that
lie.
type of no, not
Hey.
I
that
don't play
type.
with spirits.
Okay.
I
He's
was like,
like,
what?
the Charlie challenge. Nah, man, get away from me, get away.
I
Ah,
really
man.
almost like, yo, I do not play with spirits. I might as well. I won't be going live no more.
He's like, you when I go live on IG, dang, I'm calling spirits. I ain't trying to do that.
Yeah. Listen,
Forget
yeah.
that.
I'm from
Ah,
Africa. We don't play with that. That's not that. As I said, that's not my portion. That's not my portion, or that's not my portion. Keep the supernatural super.
bruh.
Yeah, I'm,
I'm
I'm
gonna keep
definitely
it
gonna keep it.
natural.
I'm gonna keep it supernatural with the freestyles though. Super
All
Got
nat.
day,
to.
all
Yeah,
day.
But
yeah.
yeah. Do you two have anything else y'all want to add to actualizing real time? And before I switch over to the last topic, anybody?
You know, honestly, thinking of especially, the writers and MCs, we have to master time. You know what I'm
Mm,
saying? In terms of writing verse and making sure, I mean, essentially what you're saying, art is what we do when we flow, because
mm-hmm.
we have to conjure words and rhythm and define the meaning, hopefully, um, when we do that, and we have to do it to not only the time that we're trying to express,
Yeah.
but especially in hip hop, there's an expected rhythm. Once you start saying things kind of in rhythm, then you kind of expect something next. You expect a certain word or sound or something, but you expect it as even as a listener. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that's, kind of just how, it's a manifestation of time in itself and how we
Yes.
have to control it, conjure it, and master it in a way to reach our goal of inspiring, making people think, entertaining people, or whatever.
Yeah.
That's
And I
fact.
think your definition, especially using the A.R.T, is just trying to manifest that in a way that's manifesting it, right? I know
Yes.
so that's a terrible way to put it, but like I think that's what we have to do. We have to bring it forth. We have to bring it out. We have to bring out that mindset that says, okay, I have all these thoughts and ideas or things in my head. I need to take them from the ether and prepare them in the physical form, in the sense, or bring them into this realm,
Yes.
whether it's on paper or on a screen or on a microphone. I
Yeah.
think being mindful in that sense to do that, because so many people, it's so easy to get sucked into other people's time. If
Yes.
it's your employers, if it's your
Yes.
families, if it's your
Mm,
friends,
mm,
um, you lose yourself in that. And I think just the A.R.T is a perfect reminder to also, you have your own time,
yeah.
right? And your own space that you need to tend to.
Yes. I'm glad you brought that point. Thank you for adding that. That's why, again, when we talk about this whole idea of like what real time is and all the different time zones and stuff, just consider that each one of us have our own time zone. And we can be
Yeah,
standing right next to each other and it can say that it's 3:30 p.m. But shoot, I can be on 5:30 p.m. and then you can be on 10:30 p.m. Like it don't necessarily mean it's almost that time is also not just the effort but the attention and your energy that you put into stuff. And you might be at a higher, quote unquote time or energy versus, someone else. And again, like you said, not getting too set bent on just somebody else's time. Like, oh, you running on my time versus, also running on your time. I feel that.
Facts.
Yes. Notes, you got anything else
Um,
besides Destiny?
actually, um, I'm working on a comic book series. I can say that. Actually, I don't really have nothing. Actually, to be honest with you. Oh wait, I do, I do, I do. Have you guys seen Alternate Carbon?
Alternate Carbon? I've heard
Yeah,
that.
ultra carbon,
The book?
there's a Netflix series, show out about over.
Oh, altered carbon.
ultra carbon. Yeah, I
Oh,
was
no,
like,
no,
Yeah,
wait,
no, no.
I
altered
was like, wait.
carbon. Yeah, altered carbon. I've
What?
seen some trailers. I haven't seen the show. I know the premise though. Yeah, this and in every season, this person gets a new body and almost like a new kind of like a new life, right? A new consciousness. Yeah.
So yeah, it's like this lady. She invented these sacks, and she puts their subconscious into these sacks. They have like these sleeves, so that she uploads their conscious into another like a human sleeve.
Mm,
It was like live on and stuff like that, but it's pretty legit to be honest with you.
Hmm.
okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
I I'm personally terrible. I'm not sitting down and watching things. So yeah, I have yet to see most of anything. Some people get on me. I still haven't even watched Black Panther. So there's so much stuff
What?
I have yet.
Oh
Yeah.
wow.
Yes, I'm that type of person. I don't. It's hard. Not hard. I don't necessarily focus my time on things of that nature. I mean, right now
I
people
feel it.
are talking about Squid Games and like all these other different things, but I
Oh
don't
yeah,
always put
Squid
in my
Game is
time into it too.
the
But
popular one now.
yeah, going back to that, I mean, I'm appreciative of you sharing that. Just knowing that again, you take your time to create this art that ultimately your life is a living art and testament. So please keep
Hmm.
pushing forward with it. Kundan,
Uh,
you have anything left after
yeah, I
that?
just wanted to add one more thing on this topic of knowing yourself and real time, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because the way I'm interpreting it, real time is presence, and
Mm-hmm.
presence is the real presence, not the one that we imagine presence to be, but real presence when we are, say, meditating, for example.
Yeah.
That is the key, the place where your true self resides, right?
Yeah.
The true self that's free of manipulation. So actualizing real time is actualizing your true self, right? So with that said,
Mm.
I wanted to give you a different idea of uh, the era of time, right?
Okay.
So we all uh, in the West, right? So everyone has an idea of how time moves, right?
Mm.
From past to present to future, right? And there is a subconscious arrow of time, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's usually horizontal, right? And in the West, many people would imagine the arrow of time either left to right or front to back, right? So
Hmm.
left to right would be like the past on the left side and the future on the right. Front to back would be the past behind you and the future in front of you, and your presence, you're present in the middle, right?
Mm.
Now, I actually watched a TED talk. It just blew my mind by a person from China, and since then I've used this new way of thinking about time in all of my guided visualizations with my clients and workshop participants and etc. So he says, it's also TED talk on the yin yang and the tai chi. He said that the Chinese visualize the arrow of time in a totally opposite way, where they see the past in front of them so that they can actually learn from the past. So they
Mm.
see it in front of them, and then the present in the middle, and the future is behind them, so that they can sit still and wait for their future self, the source of their creativity, to actually catch up to them in the present, so that
Hmm.
they can get out of their own way instead of being a roadblock all the time.
Hmm. That gave me a visual of basically I don't know why I want to use this, but the act or the play on the words evil and live, and making it seem like literally in
Mm,
this particular case, like you said, backwards. I'm thinking of literally, okay, if you're seeing everything in presence, like you moving, backwards, like if you backpedaling, or if you're just sitting there in the present waiting, because it's going from the back coming forward this way, your future self is coming, gonna come from behind you to come forward, and then that's gonna. I don't
mm.
know. You can tell me if I'm in the right or
Yeah,
around that
exactly.
area when
Like
it
a
comes
lot
to
of
interpreting.
things in the West are upside down or backwards. Like I said, even with the Maslow pyramid, but also even, what Yuval Noah Harari was saying, this Western idea that, uh, follow your heart, because apparently this mysterious inner voice has total freedom, especially freedom from manipulation. So this assumption, right,
Yeah.
that you have free will, which is the foundation of Western liberalism for the last like 500 years, right? And it's an illusion. Even before AI and computing power and all of this, it was an illusion because there is so much massive influence from religion, society, your parents, right?
Mm.
And whereas in the East, it's more about how do you resolve, how do you end suffering?
Mm.
Like, why do we suffer and why do you end it? That was their quest. It wasn't free will. and that's a more realistic, way of going forward. And also this idea of knowing yourself, right? He said that the people who are the most easily manipulated are the people who believe that they have free will.
Mm. Mm.
This is it. Wow. That's powerful because it applies
Mm-hmm.
in so many different ways.
Yeah.
Unfortunately,
Yeah.
that applies. Um, man, this is why I sit and wait.
Look, I'm telling you, look it. That's why as much as I like to come out and at least share the bits of things that I know, at least from my perspective, this is what makes, again, the community and makes this show. It's not only just Kundan, but everyone else sharing their thoughts because, again, I start bouncing off of, multitudes of people's ideas and what they know. It literally starts expanding and helping us build even further on a concept and an idea. Because you'd be like, oh, I thought this about that. But no, I actually thought of this. And be like, oh, dang, since you thought of that, you made me think of this. So, again, further building upon stuff. So, yeah, I always got to. Kundan is a fountain of wisdom. I'm not going to even say
Yes,
knowledge
yeah,
because it looks like most of the time when he gets the knowledge or when Kundan gets the knowledge, turns it straight into wisdom like that. So, because you apply it. But
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
thank you for that. And with all of that, moving to the last topic, y'all, since we were talking
Hold
about
on,
it, but the
hold
last
on,
topic. Oh, you got some? All right.
hold on.
All right, Destiny, what's good? I was playing. What's up, Notes? Wait, what?
We can't
I'm
hear you.
sitting here just taking all this. Can you hear me?
Yeah,
Yeah, we
now
can
we
hear you.
can.
Now we can, yeah.
All right, my bad. My grandmother was calling. I'm just taking in all this information, like the concept of time and like I don't know, like one of those. I was reading a quote somewhere, and it was like I don't really have nothing to say. So right now, I'm listening, and I'm literally like taking all this in. Like I never thought like that before.
Mm.
Mm.
Again, it's just expanding, and then
Mm-hmm.
I definitely say there's a reason why, and I mean, it's already also in there within the society. There's a reason why you have two ears and one mouth. There's a reason why
Mm-hmm.
for that. And the more that you take time to listen and build on whatever may end up being, and you come back and you're able to share what you're speaking and talking about, that's fine. Because again, you have two ears and one mouth. So that's what I did majority of my life, which I'm still doing now. And that's why at least what I know is a collection of past experiences and people that I've met that have actually sat down and talked to me. And I just listened and ingested everything. Now it's coming out in this form. So I feel you. I feel you, Nose.
Like
But
that's the how he was saying how the Japanese and the Chinese and stuff like that, how they view time and that. Where did you find that at? If you don't mind me asking.
DM me afterwards. I can send you the TED Talk. It's a TED Talk about yin yang. And that's a whole other thing. Yin yang, most people think it's two words. It's actually one word. And he really clarified it. It's not yin and yang, it's yin yang because it's like one symbol. It's like it's not a dichotomy, it's not a false binary. It's
mm,
one thing.
mm,
So in that TED Talk, he also talks about time. So I can send you the link later. I forgot the name of the TED Talk or even the person, but I can look it up again.
Yeah,
yeah, just
Yeah.
click on that arrow up there, Notes, and follow
Yeah,
Kunin.
follow me and DM me.
let me
Yeah.
see. Okay, yeah, I'm definitely because that's yeah, that's definitely interesting.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Again, not knowledge, but wisdom. Right.
Mhm.
On to the last topic for
It's a
tonight.
good segue into the last topic, what does being your best person mean?
Yeah,
Yeah.
so the next topic and the last one for tonight is what does being your best version mean? And we were talking about how, again, you talk about actualizing yourself, creating and whatever you're creating and things of that nature, going to become your best self. And like I say this, I'm gonna keep saying it until everybody gets annoyed. That means even y'all on YouTube. There's a reason why I pair all of these topics together. It's purposefully done. It's not, oh, this makes sense. Oh, I think it might be. No, I do it on purpose. Make sure you're paying attention. They build off of each other. But with this last one, I want to hear y'all thoughts when you hear that question of like, what is being your best version mean? Y'all give me some ideas of what your best version is.
I got one.
Go
So
ahead.
I was talking to Phasefarer today, and I was talking about like working out.
Mm,
I was working out. So when I hurt my back a few months ago, and now my knee is kind of hurting as well too. I was talking to my girl about it too. I was kind of down on myself. Like I'm a very very tough critic on myself,
mm,
and it's hard sometimes because I do want to be the best version of myself. Like, I know I need to be. I always say like self study. I know I love to read, but I haven't read in a while. I was been supposed to been copying down my lyrics and stuff like that from my phone to my notepad.
mm-hmm.
Not relying on technology so much. But then it's like I know how to do it, but it's just like I try to be humble as well too, because I know when I get like that,
Yeah.
I have like straight tunnel vision.
Hmm.
And when I had that straight tunnel vision, sometimes I'm not gonna lie, I can be an ass. I can be an asshole. And I don't even I won't realize it, but a person that's outside, looking in, said like today my girlfriend we had a little talk and stuff like that. She was like, when you get angry and stuff like that, you take it out on me and like frustrate, not like physical or anything like that, but like my responses are more like straightforward.
Yeah.
And I honestly really thought like I had that because before I used to take my frustration out on other people without even realizing. I thought I was really
Mm,
working on that, and I was, but it's like I I got reminded of myself. So I was reminded I still need to work on it. So being the best version of yourself, that's like it's hard, and you constantly have to check yourself.
yeah.
So I mentally check myself, but then sometimes it crosses into the realm of like being hard on yourself,
Yeah.
and so I be trying to find the balance. Like, how can I now listen to that voice in my head? Like, okay, like is that wisdom or answer? God, whatever talking to me,
Mm,
or is that me? Just trying to be a dick or something like that. So
mm,
it's kind of hard
Mm.
to be the best version of yourself because anybody can do it, but I feel like when you focus on that so much, you start losing the piece of yourself. Like you start disconnecting from things, almost become like a robot.
mm, mm-hmm.
You
Yes.
know what's funny though? I want to say peace to everything Notes has said, but I actually want to kind of answer based on something that Kundan has actually said earlier.
Mm,
And I think the best version of ourselves, right, is the one that's in that true present moment,
mm-hmm.
the one that we see whenever we may be meditating or in prayer. And I say that because that one is that self is the one that is free of the manipulation, right?
Mm,
Because we're pulled in so many different directions. Many of the things that Nosa just said, it will continue to be pulled, but that one, with that one true self, right? That one in the true presence
mm-hmm.
has so much clarity that it can see where you've been, right? That present self can
Yes.
transcend time because it can see where you've been, but
Mm,
also tell you where you need to go,
mm,
right? And I know it's hard. It's hard to to get
yeah.
that and be that person because we're always being pulled in so many different directions, right?
Yes.
But every now and then, I feel like you in terms of the cycle, you end up meeting that person. You end up colliding with that person,
Yeah.
and then you're able to see where you need to go. And life is a continuing meeting. It's a continual re-meeting of yourself in that present tense and
Yes.
seeing where you need to go. We're seeing where you need to go to continue to grow,
Mm-hmm.
right? And continue to progress, to continue to live. Right now, and for a lack of a better example, I'll use myself. In terms of my creativity and where I'm at with the craft, I feel like I'm the most powerful I've ever been
Mm.
because now I feel like I can literally do anything that I want. And I didn't have that. I didn't meet this person. It took a while for me to get here, but it kept coming back to the table of that present tense. It kept coming back to meditation. It kept coming back to even deliberation with people close to me,
Yeah.
right? And really working out and trying to opine the true vision of myself of where I wanted to go. So I think the best version of ourselves is us in that present tense. They may not be quote unquote perfect,
Yeah.
right? It may not be the most fully put together version of yourself, but I think that's the best version is the current version because that version is going to help you go to where you need to. So that best
Mm.
version is continually evolving. The
Yes.
definition of the best person version of yourself, I mean, is continually changing. It's a moving target, or hopefully it is,
Yes.
right? It may not be for everybody, right? But I feel like that's what it is.
Beautiful. Go ahead, Kundan.
Yeah, just yes to that. I agree. Yes, and I think being my best version also means allowing myself to have flaws, to be flawed,
Mm-hmm.
and because I want to be perfect, right? But who even that idea of perfection, whose perfection,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's certainly not mine. It's I already know it's imposed upon me by again other people, society, religion, right,
Mm-hmm.
etc. That is why in my most recent poem that I wrote, that's called the title of the poem is called Unfinished. I literally said, infinity is the opposite of perfection.
Mm-hmm.
That's a gem.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's a gem.
And ironically, that poem came to me from a place of meditation, from awareness. I wanted to do the workshop writing from attention versus awareness, and I decided, you know what, I want to try this on myself and really practice, what I'm about to teach. So I literally decided to get into that place of awareness, write about the topic of being unfinished, and the entire poem came to me as a complete poem all at once.
Mm.
Yeah. And that, right, that practice of being willing to be with yourself, with your uh, your fears and frustrations, which I wrote about in my poem as well, of being willing to face yourself is part of uh, growing into your best version. I feel like your best version is not a static thing that
Mm-hmm.
you keep growing into
Mm-hmm.
newer and newer and better versions of yourself, which are basically you getting closer and closer to that true self that we both talked about.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it is. And it takes being willing to face yourself, really. They've even done an experiment, and I believe the experiment might be slightly biased in the sense that it might have different results if they did it with people who grew up more in cultures that practice meditation and self reflection.
Yeah.
So I don't know the details of who took part in the experiment, but they've done an experiment where they would leave people in an empty room, right, with nothing at all. Like there's no pictures, no phone, like it's just an empty white wall, and they're sitting on a single chair. There's a table, and there's a little machine that they're told if they touch the machine, they'll get a slight electric shock, right? And apparently, like and they're told to stay there for at least an hour. And basically, a significant portion of people, after about 15 minutes, would actually go and
Touch.
touch that electric shock machine. So they would rather experience that physical pain than experience the emotional pain of facing themselves.
Mm.
That's what it is, basically.
Mm.
I'm
Wow.
the. Mm, you said that they'd rather feel physical pain.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Right.
I know for me because, and I know I can handle physical pain,
Mm,
but emotional pain, like mental pain, that's different. And
Mm.
I wanted to say when you were talking about like I'm the meditation, they were talking about like being your true self. Now I know why I meditate. Like, just hearing what you're saying, I know I'm starting to understand meditation. Even through this conversation, I thought I had it down, but
Yeah.
I really didn't, because your perfect self, it can be scary, man, because that purpose, you don't know what's going to come out. The Japanese say a
exactly.
lot of people well, people wear three masks. There's one where your family sees it. There's another where your friend sees it, and then when you're by yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe when you fuck, I'm trying to
You're
say it,
good.
but
You're good.
I don't know how to say it. Because I just know I experienced that. Like even now, I'm experienced. I experienced them that again, and it's a lot different. I can say this. I'm more. I meditate because I guess I hold back. I was telling you,
Mm.
I hold back because there's just certain things, like I just don't want to let out. But now I'm starting to understand why meditation is required. So you can talk to your inner self. You
Yes.
can connect with your thoughts and stuff like that. But, because sometimes a feeling or a thought or whatever, like you can't explain that. And yeah, it's I don't know. Maybe I'm everywhere, man. I'm everywhere, but I'm
No, you're
Yeah, you're right.
everywhere
You're
where you need to
absolutely
be.
right.
Yeah, you're
Mm-hmm.
everywhere where you need to be.
Yeah.
And I think that is okay. I think, unfortunately, I can't really blame Western culture, but for lack of a better enemy, Western culture teaches us that we can only be in one thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Exactly.
even our elements like water have to be in particular states, and it can only be in one state. But we know that they can be in multiple states at the same time.
Yes.
And I think
Mm-hmm.
I think it's kind of, we have to unlearn a lot
Yes.
growing up.
Yes.
Okay. We have to unlearn a lot of bad habits, a lot of things we may not agree with, a lot of things that may not be healthy for us
Yeah.
as individuals. We have to unlearn a lot. And I
Yep.
think, ultimately understanding yourself, right? And
Mm-hmm.
understanding yourself and what it is that you want and need for yourself to determine where it is you need to go to find your the best version of yourself, that moving
Yeah,
target.
especially that good evil false binary, right? That is why I wrote that poem, and that's why I said infinity is the opposite of perfection. And s- speaking of being like easily manipulated, I feel like the person who says or even sincerely believes that they're a good person, they're either very manipulative themselves or they're easily manipulated. And I want to run far away from such a person. Like that's like how I feel. Like
Man.
Yes, I agree. The same person that says that they're smart. Um,
exactly.
yeah, went away from them too. Um, but I think,
The one with the bigly brain, right?
yeah, yeah. smooth as all silk.
I'm gonna be
But
as smart as an art. Right.
but I think that's the beautiful thing about the question. Even the
Yeah.
question didn't ask for the perfect version of ourselves. The question asked for the best.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
think we need to differentiate the two. The opposite perfect was perfect is the enemy of the good. Or some of the, please forgive me if I'm misquoting it, but perfection in itself is a very forms a very false dichotomy because
Yeah.
it shows that things are imperfect when the way things are the way things are,
Yes.
and how they're interpreted is based on interpretation. Um, and I think honestly, it was for me personally, it was shedding a lot of that, realizing that especially growing up in a very religious culture, right?
Mm.
Which was kind of shedding a lot of that. I was very lucky that I found two books. Um, I can never remember the title. It was a book on mindfulness by Thich Nhat Hanh and The Beloved by Khalil Gibran. Um, which
I
if
love
you
Gibran. Yeah.
haven't read, Kundan, that
I
if
read
you
The
don't read,
Prophet. Yeah.
yeah, the prophet is the prophet is amazing. I found The Beloved first, which is essentially about love and all of its many of its
Forms.
various
Ooh, I gotta
forms.
read that. Yeah.
Yes,
By the
I
way,
and
they Salma Hayek turned the Prophet into a beautiful animated movie.
I
It's
saw it.
amazing. Yeah.
Yes, and everybody here should see it. Um,
Yeah.
Khalil Gibran is he's an unsung hero of an artist whose writing is powerful. In fact, in the episode of the Boondocks where Huey they go back to the hood. One
Yeah.
of Grandpa's friends dies. In that fight scene, when Grandpa says, "Huey, say something smart," he
Oh yeah.
Oh
actually
yeah.
recites a line from Khalil Gibran. Peace to John Witherspoon, rest in power. And
Yeah.
but with those two books, it really flipped everything I knew on its head because you give in religion you give so much of yourself you give so much of your time to somebody else's your
Mm-hmm.
experience,
Mm-hmm.
right, is essentially subject to time that is not yours, and and it's different when you unwillingly give up that power, right? It's one thing if you unwillingly give up that time, but if you choose to do so willingly of your own accord, then it's different because then it's aligning with your true self.
Mm.
So I had to go back and really think about what is and learn to meditate and learn to think and really find out, okay, what is this presence of? What is the presence of telling me? Where do I need to go in order to kind of realign myself?
Yeah.
And that's what I don't want to say. That's what I'm able to do. I was able to do it, but it's something I still continue to do.
Yeah.
Right. So continue to try to reconnect and keep chasing that target because so far I like the direction that it's gone in.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I guess in my eyes, that's quote unquote good, for lack of a better term. But I think it's just trying to find that target by reconnecting with yourself, using
Yes.
that art to really connect and determine what your needs are, what your soul needs are.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Going
I
on all of
also
that.
want to address the aspect of meditation, especially what Note said about not realizing what it is until even until this call. I mean, this life. And that was the same with me. Like on my journey of meditation, uh, because I'm still on this journey of decolonizing my mind, right? And in my journey, it's only in recent years that I realized what I thought was meditation is actually the opposite of meditation. That, uh, and I made a post about this recently on Facebook on what I call colonized meditation or westernized meditation, which is when they do so-called guided visualizations or even the so-called chakra meditations. They take you into these hypnotic fantasies So they're actually taking you away from yourself. They feel good, they make you feel peaceful, but meditation is not about feeling peaceful. It's not about feeling good. In fact, it can be the opposite. It's about facing yourself, which means it can actually be about feeling bad, where you have to feel all the flawed parts of yourself that you don't want to face. So in indigenous culture, and meditation at its simplest is just just sitting with yourself for an
Yes.
hour, for 2 hours, uh, and just like knowing, like bringing up all of these things that you've never wanted to face. Again, like Yuval Noah Harari has a powerful story about this, where uh, now he's a best-selling author. He goes on these lecture circuits all over the world. He's all over YouTube, right? He's written 3 best-selling books on both the history and the future of humanity, right? Sapiens, Homo Deus, and 21 Lessons for the 21st Century. But
Mm.
before he wrote all of those books, he was, he was a professor in Israel. He's still a professor in Israel, of history, right? But he was struggling a lot in some ways, like, and he started taking up, this very simple form of meditation, which is just observing the breath, right? And he would notice, and, one day he noticed that he couldn't observe his own breath for more than 3 breaths, right? And one day he had this huge breakthrough where even that knowing that he couldn't observe his breath for more than 3 breaths was a huge breakthrough for him, because as a historian he realized, oh my God, like I'm a history professor. I'm supposed to know the reality of history, even the reality of the present moment, of geopolitics and things like that. I'm a teacher of this, and I don't even know the reality of my own breath for more than 3 breaths. Then how can I know the reality of geopolitics? How?
Wow.
Mind blown. Like,
Wow. Yeah. It's funny. It's funny because we were talking about guided meditation, and I see notes playing Destiny. Like, what's the difference between guided meditation and a video game?
Yeah.
You're essentially
mm,
rolling people into a meditative state. You're setting different goals. You're setting your world building. You're setting a vision. But
yeah, it's
is
more
that
a form of
meditation?
hypnosis. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what so-called guided meditations and visualizations are. And they have their place. There is legit, hypnotherapy where, you go back into your childhood and heal your childhood memories and stuff like that. There's
Yeah.
legit stuff, but it's not meditation. Like, let's make a distinction here. You know.
Yeah. And those are for all the folks who practice meditation. If you do not, it is all well and good. There's other different
Mm-hmm.
ways to help you get closer and connect with yourself, not only meditation. Because I
Mm-hmm.
know a number of people who like, I tried and I could do, maybe they'll go back and revisit. But again, a lot of this, of what I'm hearing when
Yeah,
it
maybe
comes
go
to it,
hiking. Like a friend of mine, like she couldn't meditate and she couldn't do this hypnotic stuff either. And she found her refuge accidentally one day, as she started going on these late night walks in Irvine. There's these places, and for the first time, she allowed herself to to move about in a way that in the daylight she felt like she would be judged, especially since like at the time she was like, she felt that she was very overweight and things like that. And but on these late night walks she would dance around and prance about and do. And one day I walked with her on the late night and I asked her to show it to me, and she felt safe with me to do that, right?
yeah,
And I was like, oh, like I do that too sometimes. And and the more she did that, the more she started really connecting to her true self. Like she even started like, losing weight in a few months without going to the gym, without dieting, without any of that. She became more fit. And because she felt like it was almost like a natural thing, she felt like she would have more energy to do that, to do what she loved if she, lost a little bit more weight. That's what it was her own decision. Like, and it was like she had these incredible changes. But
yeah,
from that moments of like little bits of moments of freedom that she had from just prancing about on the hiking trails late night without meditation.
yes, sir. I mean, with that, a lot of it. and we spoke on it and said it already, it has to do with the awareness of, yourself and how you go about applying those things. Because ultimately, like, that's one reason why I had to preface and letting folks who don't necessarily meditate, there's other different ways and modes of you to be able to do that. But ultimately, with you finding the best version of yourself, yes, we got to go through a lot of deprogramming ourselves when it comes to what we've already been taught and learned. I'm just reiterating these things because, I mean, once we're born into a particular system that has certain setups and ways that they go about doing things. And you can look at it through literally how your computer is set up. That's why there's such things as updates and modifications and, various different changes, whether it was PC, Linux, all these different various versions. And to put it into an example would be, since a lot of people do it on video games, like there's literally video games where you have to build your own character. And depending on how you have to address enemies and different bosses, you got to put it into particular skills. Like you might need more stamina, or you might need more speed or more attack. And depending on how you want to approach the situation, however you fight the boss or you fight the obstacle, you have to prep yourself in those areas. And not everybody is going to have the same build as anybody else to address that certain situation and problems. And the thing with knowing that is, just because one thing works for me or works for Kundan or Phase or Notes doesn't necessarily is going to work for you. And for you to really go in and do that is you got to ask yourself those questions. You got to really figure out, okay, how do I really like looking at music? How do I really like looking at how I work at and do things? What does society say? What does my parents say? What does my family say? You get all of that, bring it together, and you figure out, wait, does it work better if I do it how I usually do it or how everybody else is? And the more that you get time to be able to do that, which I'm saying, yeah, sometimes people, we ain't gonna have enough time to do that because we have our own issues and sets of problems day in and day out. But even if you take literally 10 minutes out of your day trying to figure stuff out like that, or doing something that brings you energy in that particular way to help you find what your best version of yourself is, which is always going to be an ongoing process. That's what I mean. I see that as it's always going to be an ongoing process. It's not only how you start off and how you end, but again, the whole idea of the journey and yourself becoming your best self is that journey. It's not at the end, oh, I finally was able to get 3 masters and do all of this. Now I'm at my best self. Like, no, like there's so much more work that needed to be done, because honestly, there's an ideal self, there is your present self, and then there is your, your actual self, which you have to literally find out, what do you actually want to do and actually want to be? So you have to go through all of those different experiences. You have to go through all those different steps just to figure that out. And just because I played a video game a certain way, it works for me. It may not work for you. I don't like being stealthy. I like going all out. Some people like being stealthy. Some people like being up front. Some people like to talk it through. Whatever ends up working for you, just take note of that and just know that once you're able to figure out those little small pieces and parts, you'll figure out your trajectory and your path in life, which will help grow you much more than trying to live somebody else's path.
Right, it's about a becoming, it's a growing or growth, and with growth comes growing pains, right?
Yes.
Facing your flaws, and then and also realizing your strengths that you may not know, and then releasing your flaws, and then leaning more and more into your strengths, right? And on this topic of like meditation and becoming your best version, like a friend of mine said something really powerful on my post on meditation. She said, I tell all of my meditation students, if you come to my meditation class with the intention of making the same choices but more productively and calmly, then don't come.
I dig it. I dig it. Dig it. I dig it.
Yeah, well, from at least what I've gotten out of at least meditation and learning what it is from my experience, ultimately, how I've seen meditation is that, again, it's there being with yourself, experiencing either the nothingness or just the complete idea and rushes of your thoughts, whether they're quote unquote good or bad. But there is no quote unquote end outcome of meditation. You don't meditate just because you want to become peaceful. You don't meditate just because you want to have a bigger appetite, or you don't meditate because you're going to get something out of it. It's just being in meditation is just being in meditation. It basically, to me, it shows the ideal form of what a human being is. You're just being. That's it. You're just being. The being has nothing else to do. Don't necessarily have to be doing this, doing that, doing this. No, you're just being. Just like how a tree just bees. Like how things within nature just be. So it's a great, not only idea, but it's a great form to show how just to be. And the whole idea is that you don't get nothing else out of it. You might get these benefits, but that's not your reason why you want to meditate. You don't meditate because you want to lower your anger or, lower your energy in certain areas. No, you're just being. And from that being, what happens is you might get these. I mean, honestly, it happens. Like, that's what's going to happen. The more that you come to meditate and figure more things out, you are going to see a lot of the benefits. You might also see some of the opposite, but that's not the reason why to do it. So, I mean, I just wanted to add that little piece there, and then I have another question, and then we'll go around a few more times, and then we're going to definitely call it because we getting up there in time. But the question that I wanted to pose out, because people are talking about, okay, you say meditation, said being your best self, doing what is this? Can y'all give me some traits or some things that y'all do besides meditation that shows that you're growing towards your best self?
Reading. I love comic books. I love manga. Um, I love listening to lo-fi. I love lo-fi. Sometimes, and it might sound weird, I might turn off all the lights in my apartment or my house, and I'll just sit in the dark.
Yeah, it's definitely no, brother. That's not weird. That in a way that's very metaphorical to kind of how birth is.
Sometimes even I'm driving home, and sometimes I'll just turn the music off and I'll just drive.
Yep.
Sometimes I get tired of hearing music. Sometimes
Yeah.
I'll even color a certain way and stuff like that. I've always been like very good with my hands and stuff like that. So stuff like that.
Okay.
Man, it's funny that you say. It's funny that you bring up that you got tired of music, and it's I hate to work this in, but it's relevant. Actually, well, A.D.V.I.S. and Notes were here for it when I kind of had the most productive breakdown I've ever had, and I was really pondering, and then not making music, not making writing, and not writing, just kind of giving it up. And I kind of had to change. I think I had to almost, have that conversation with myself. I had to think on it, and I had to think about why I was feeling that way and what I could do about it, or what I wanted to do about it.
Yeah.
And basically, what came out of that was Bam, and the album I just released and worked. What was crazy is because after I made that decision, I had that intention, I made all those tracks in about 3 weeks. I finished both projects, and it was about 50 songs. I was basically doing 2-3 songs a night, and that's just the state the state I was in. And I was even telling Notes, like, it feels natural. Like I don't have to, like I'm not trying. Like there's not everything that is driving this is everything that I feel I need from the universe.
Yeah, because
And
it's you. Like I was said before. I'm going to cut you off. It was you. So I'm happy that you were able to find your voice. I'm happy that you were able you were able to do stuff for you because you got your own voice, man. You got your own story. Everybody has their own story, and
Yes.
it doesn't matter if you tell it through music, if you tell it through dance, if you tell it through dance, if you tell it just by telling it, if you telling it by cussing, if you're telling it by just fighting and stuff like that. I I finally found my own voice, and it's crazy. Last year when I finally stood up to my mom,
Mm.
and I'm 32. It took me that long to finally stand up to her,
Mm.
and it took a lot of hurt and stuff like that. And me and Faze talk a lot of stuff. I'm still going through, and it's like I look at things a lot different. Even when I first came out, my first song I came out my first album, it was called "The Fall of the Poet."
Mm.
And I mean, she's not in my life anymore, but it came when me and my ex fiance broke up. I was in a crazy state. I was back drinking. I was back smoking. I let myself go. Was barely even eating. I was trying to fill a void with just buying things.
Mm.
And when I came out with that album, it wasn't really all the way perfect, but at the same time, like I was telling Faith, I don't give a damn. You know what I mean? I had to get that out. It was a very emotional
Therapeutic.
time that I was in, and I'm happy that Faith was able to have this time to shine. Now look where you are at. You have more confidence now in yourself that you can do this, and I'm happy that I'm part. I'm happy that I'm happy to witness that.
Agreed.
well, yeah, I mean, of course, A.D.V.I.S. Even you, Kundan, like I was, because this was around the time I was working on a lot of the music, watching you guys on What's the Word Wednesdays, and just had it on, and I was hearing a lot of the stuff, and then I would literally kind of mute the conversation, and then most of the album is freestyles. Even the poems were just in the moment to kind of harness that stream of consciousness. So I'd mute you guys, make the beat real quick, and turn around and record, and then get a quick mix done, yada yada, and then come in for the after session. Like, so honestly, what I owe a lot to What's the Word Wednesdays as a platform, because it was literally on. It was literally the background noise. I shouldn't say background noise because I was tuned in, but it was literally there as a part of the process for making the project. No lie.
Mm.
So it's just, in terms of answering the question, though, I think it's taking the time to confer with yourself. If it's
Yeah.
meditation or whatever other tools you need to confer with yourself to determine what it is you need for yourself to get to where you need to go.
Yeah.
It's very being deliberate. I think it's going back to the art, actualizing that real time for yourself,
Yeah.
and being deliberate with trying to ascertain what it is that you need and where you need to go.
I'm with it. Kunde.
Yeah, like I'm multi-creative, so definitely art is including, writing, coloring, drawing, dancing, painting, all of those ways of self-exploration and healing and facing myself, and sometimes just about relaxing myself. And yeah, those things can really like help me know myself, and the more I know myself, the more I can become a better person. Like it's about, I feel like it's a significant portion of my art. Like people may never see, like because it's mainly for myself. But like art is a big one.
Mm.
Definitely reading, like you said, reading, watching videos by people with more wisdom and experience than me in certain life areas, like Yuval Noah Harari that I mentioned, and lately I've also been trying to increase my ability to ask better questions, and
Mm.
that's why I started reading this book, The Book of Beautiful Questions by Warren Berger, because your focus is determined by the questions you ask, and in the mind, questions are really literally the way that your subconscious mind thinks, anyways, and that's why some people even say that instead of saying affirmations, you should change it into what if questions. Your mind is more open to receiving, the idea. And yeah, so basically like that, increasing my ability to ask more beautiful questions or more effective questions. That's another way as well.
Mm. Wow. I appreciate all of y'all chiming in and sharing those, and especially that last the last one for that too, Kundan, kind of really
Mm-hmm.
to put a lot of things back into in place and perspective. I mean, that's how you go about, figuring out what, your best version is of yourself, is really figuring out those key components and questions. That's why
Mm-hmm.
the who, what, when, where, hows, and whys are usually always very at least strong starting points. But the more detailed that you are to ask the question, the more detailed of the answer that you can get back from what you're asking. So really,
Mm-hmm.
it helps with your interpretation, your subconscious interpretation of the question, to really help you put all into perspective and point out how you're going to go about doing something. So I mean, some folks, when it comes to the things that y'all like to do, the reading, you have your comics, you got your multiple different ways of creating music and stuff of that nature. There's questions and points and times that you have to ask yourself of why you like doing these things, or how you even got yourself to even get into these realms to do these things. It could have been a person asking you a question about like, yo, do you like music? And you kind of really thought to yourself, like, do I really like music? It's like, and then it starts making you start really think about what are the aspects of music that you like, and then figuring out, okay, then how do I go about using these parts to help create or even like music even more? And again, for all other different type of, forms of how you find your better self, but definitely asking those questions and realizing them, in real time, to help you figure out, how are you going to go about getting to your best version of yourself. Now, I wanted to share some particular traits that I got from this article, and then that'll be the last thing to remember, or you need at least talk on, is how y'all feel about some of the traits, and then we'll end it off there for tonight's show. And again, before I do, I appreciate all of your time and y'all coming in and definitely sharing your thoughts and
Mm-hmm.
perspective. Because again, this is what makes the show in the community. It's not only what I'm speaking on and saying, but also what y'all bring and y'all share. So
Mm-hmm.
with that,
Oh, there's one more thing that, as far as reading goes, uh, you can read nonfiction, of course, especially in the so-called personal growth, self-help section. But there's also a way to read fiction and memoirs for personal growth and self-reflection and exploration. In fact, a friend of mine uh, who's recently started her own publishing company said that she literally doesn't read self-help, just reads memoirs for personal growth, because you actually learn from other people's actual lived experience, right?
yes,
And there's a way to do that with fiction as well, because storytelling is literally how we're wired to learn, right? Like in the old days, instead of teaching you how to make fire, the elders would teach you the story of how when fire was first discovered. So it's like deeply wired in us. So
yes.
there is a 2-minute video on my IGTV where I talk about this, and there's also on my YouTube an hour-long interview where we go into more detail regarding like basically like using the same technique that writers use to write novels. You can use as a reader to explore yourself, like, because often the speaking of being perfect versus being flawed, right? Often for a story to work, the character, the main character at the beginning has to be a flawed character with a big major flaw, and the story is really about how they outgrew that flaw and became a better person.
Mm-hmm.
So as you read, you ask yourself, like, how relatable is this flow, and do I have some aspect of it inside myself that I can also learn from? So that's basically how you grow from reading fiction and memoirs as well.
Boom. Because ultimately, you can basically learn through other people's experiences, aka vicariously. Uh,
Exactly. Yeah.
Now, with these traits, and then we talk about it. I'm here on this website. It's called liveboldandbloom.com. And it basically is giving, and it says 25 good character traits that impact your happiness. The reason why I want to at least unpack this is because, again, we could talk about, virtues and different core concepts that helps you to be building, be a better quote unquote version of yourself, or best version of yourself, which can be like integrity, which can end up being like loyalty, other things of that nature. So I just wanted to bring those into there and just shine some light on them. So here we go, y'all. So the first one they have is integrity, which, I use as an example. Second one they have is honesty. Third one, loyalty. Fourth one, respectfulness. Responsibility, humility, compassion, fairness, forgiveness, authenticity, courageousness, generosity, perseverance. And if any jump out to you, again, you can hold them in and let me know. Politeness, kindness, lovingness, optimism, relatability or reliability, conscientiousness, self-discipline, ambiguousness, encouraging, forgiving, considerate, and thoroughness of those 25. Now, my whole thing with it is if you are or if you aren't right now, what would be some of one of those traits, or if not a few of those traits that you feel apply to your best version?
If I had to choose one, honestly,
Yeah.
it would be integrity.
Mm.
Because, and I say that because integrity, to me, there's a synergy with accountability,
Mm.
and you have to be able to hold yourself accountable
What's up, Chris?
if you're trying to, I don't know, hey, um, if you're trying to get to where you need to go, right?
Mm.
If you're trying to hit that moving target and be that best version of yourself, you have to be, you have to have the integrity to determine your quote unquote flaws, your quote unquote, just the things that you need to do, your flaws, your strengths, your what you're good at, what you're not good at, what you need, what you don't need, and I think you need that to kind of discern. So
Yes,
I think integrity is key.
for sure. Notes?
I'll say loving,
Hmm.
and the reason why I say loving, type what Phase was saying. I feel like, I mean, anybody can do all that, but you also have to love what you're doing.
Hmm.
Um, Integrity does go a long way, but also as well too, a lot of people can also hide behind those definitions. It's like I was telling one of my friends, I was like, yeah, I mean, it's always good to be truthful, be honest.
Yes.
But sometimes people will be honest to gain something.
Hmm. Your intention behind it.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it's also no, this person needed to know. True, this person needed to know, but why were you in a rush to tell it? You know,
Mm.
what is your motto? And also as well too, I also believe in honor. Having a code. Like I stand by a code.
Mm-hmm.
There's certain things that I wouldn't do. Like I can say one of them. Like more like if my like I would never. say me and my girl broke up, I would never date her friend. I would never date her sister. You know, I would never date anybody that's kin to her, and that's just to me that's like a great. I'm gonna say it. Like
Oh,
like
you want you yeah, you want it, you got it.
I feel like
I do have a question for you though. When you're done,
I saw that.
Mm,
when when a lot of people do that, it it's not honorable. You know what I mean? You
true.
know, it's not honorable. Like there's a go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah.
My question is, and I want people to chime in. What is honor without integrity?
Mm-hmm.
You
Fact.
have to have integrity to be honorable.
Yeah.
True. No,
Mm-hmm.
no, that is true. That is true. But sometimes people will say that and don't have it. That's what I'm saying. Like, you know,
True. All the time.
yeah, you see what I'm saying? Like, you know, a lot of people say that and don't have that. So
You want to fight like a man? Fight like a man. If you want to talk about from Rush Hour, you decide you want to fight like a man, put your guns down and everything, and then still they end up still pulling out a gun and still shooting. Like, come on, like you know, you had that behind that. But sorry, continue. My bad.
no.
Thank you. We needed that.
That's honestly pretty much what I have to say. No, I mean,
Awesome.
like I'm saying, too, like you know, like these talks are dope. Like I'm going to be chiming in a lot more. You
Oh yeah,
know,
please do. That's what it's for. That's what this platform for me, what I've done and created, not only for me to also get closer to those who do support me, but also to provide a space for us to build. Which
yeah,
that's become one of my favorite words now. Shouts out to, of course, the brother Phase over here. That's been one of my other favorite words besides balance and authenticity. Which, I'm gonna throw it to Cooney real quick. Then I'm gonna say the one or ones that I like, and then we all can have a last summary and we can end this show. But Cooney, go ahead.
Well, first of all, I do. Well, they're like all positions have good qualities, but I do
Yeah.
take issue with one of them. I've mentioned before about politeness being a psychological weapon of class warfare, and
Mm,
how indigenous cultures before colonization
Yeah.
didn't even have words for thank you and please, for example. Uh, Whereas post-colonization, it's not as obvious as in English because people have lost the etymology, but uh, in my language, for example, in Burmese, post-colonization, the current version of Burmese, right? If you directly translate the meaning of the word thank you, it actually means your humble servant repays their debt to you. Like,
Mm.
so it's polite to the point of being submissive.
Mm. Mm.
So yeah, that's why I don't consider myself to be polite or nice. There's also the nice guy and nice girl syndrome.
Yeah. Yep.
I consider myself
Yep.
to be kind, but also real. That's what I strive to be, kind and real. It's what I strive to be.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. Words are real spells, y'all. If you do
oh,
not know on the real, just the way that they are set and made up, man. If you really went back and did the etymology, which basically means the origins of where these words
mm-hmm,
come from, yo, you trip out on some of them, and it will make sense. But I feel you on that politeness. For me, I mean, there's so many. Again, you're not just one. You're a multitude of many. There may be one that drives the most, but that doesn't mean that's the only one that's there in the car. Proverbial car. So
yeah, I
over
also
here.
see it as a striving or becoming, right? Because I feel like if I think I have even one of these qualities, I'm probably already deluding myself, right?
Mm,
But it is a striving at becoming towards like many of these qualities in this list.
I'm with that. For myself, again, there's a multitude, but if I had to between two that really popped into my head or from here would be humility as well as authenticity. For sure, authenticity because from my experience, not only working with people, but working with the youth and children, that's what I really gained a lot of insight from. Because as kids, a lot of them, they have not gotten all this programming that we've got, so they have really been, they're fresh off with so much stuff that they already know, but it's very very natural to them until they're told otherwise. So just me coming into more about myself and learning more of myself, I noticed the more that I was authentic to myself and how I felt about things and how I did things and how I moved, the more receptive people as well as the children were to me. So when I worked in being very authentic, not only with what I did, but also what I said and how I explained it in the whole environment and approachableness around me, it started to help me open up even more and figure out like, yo, if I'm really authentically being me, then I start creating spaces for folks to be authentically themselves and to be able to build upon and figure out what their versions or these best versions of themselves can end up being just from you, just being you and figuring that out. So I know that's what I try to always move with, as well as move with the humility, knowing that ultimately I'm grateful for what other people share and give, as well as, big up and, congratulate me on a lot of different things. But I always make sure to not take that so much to the head, but to use that energy to continue creating things and to continue building upon that. Yo, yes, I may have done it well at this point. Yes, there's other people who can do it better and things of that nature. But again, we all have our different stories, our different games, and our different paths to take. And just knowing that this has helped my path grow even more. So I'm always going to be grateful. I'm going to be humble about how I've approached things. And every time I've done that, I've noticed I've just built and I've been just growing even more. Instead of me always trying to be like, I know it all. I come to places and I'll be like, I'm new here. I'm not necessarily know what I necessarily can add or bring, but these are the skills and stuff that I've had. Like, what is this place about? Learn from all the other people who's there before me, and then I end up finding my role and my piece to play. And once I'm able to put that piece together, it starts to create again this whole cycle of connecting and the whole cycle. Since I'm my authentic self, and I've came at it a point where it's not like I know everything. I've actually learned a lot more, not only by myself, but how to properly help and support the community of people I come across. So that was for me.
And I think, yeah, for real. I mean, I feel like the wisest man is the one who admits what he doesn't know. And because ultimately we know nothing, because just like our best selves, the truth is something that could be a moving target at times too.
Yes.
Let's be honest. But on that note, before I'd be remiss if we didn't give you your flowers again. Thank you for hosting us. Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you for, allowing us to come here and offer our insight and our 2 cents and to grow and build with each other. It takes a special kind of person to do that, and that has that humble quality. And yes, I know it'll never go to your head, but I still feel like when people do good things, we should appreciate them for what they are, right? And of course, let's not wait until we can't do that anymore.
Yeah.
We're here in the moment. We're here in the present. So let's give that affirmation. Yep, those flowers. I see you, and
Yep,
give them where
that's
they're
it.
due. So thank you, and big shout out to everybody in here. Kundan, I walk away with more than I came with. Anytime I hear you speak, and brother Notes, you already
Agreed.
know what it is. So
Appreciate
thank everybody in here.
Yeah, Kuman, yeah, man, thank you. This my first time being in here, but
Okay, Kimber's still in here.
you guys gave me a lot to think about,
Yeah.
a lot to think about, and I got to stand before like Abbotsdale, man. Thank you again, man, for even hosting stuff like this.
Yeah.
Um,
Anytime, man. Like I said, there's reasons why that I do this, because I've gotten to that point in time, because I've had so many great teachers as well as great supports throughout my life. I've been grateful to not necessarily have to go through a lot, even though I still went through a lot in a different way. but just to be able to be that other resource for folks, because that's when I started noticing at the end of the day, one of my missions is to connect to people, and either way I have to do it, I'm gonna go about doing that. So again, I'm grateful that y'all even take the time to do this, because to me, time is, I actually equate time to being a lot more than just love. Even though love, we can talk about it and mention multitudes of things, but I know time is one thing you can never get back. So that's why I'm always grateful of people giving of their time for y'all to come and do that. So again, that's how I grow. That's how we all grow. But to wrap this all out, y'all give any last things you want people to know or just hear about? I mean, if you got something coming out, share that. But any last words before I close out the show?
Um, hope you guys are following Phasefarer, his music and stuff, his poetry, his beat. That's for sure. You guys follow Ackham's. Like I said, I learned a lot tonight. Also, you guys are already following. Oh my God, how do you pronounce your name, G? Your page name, A.D.V.I.S.S. Also follow A.D.V.I.S.S. people for the people who's coming in here, and if you guys want to follow me, you can catch me on SoundCloud, Renotes. You can follow my Instagram. You can check out my music and stuff as well on Spotify, and yeah, that's pretty much it, man.
For sure.
Man,
Yeah, go ahead, Phase. Yep.
man. Again, thank you, everybody in here. People in the chat too. A lot of familiar faces, a lot of wonderful faces, and the conversation that's going down there is beautiful. I think the thing that I love most is just the energy around kind of just trying to build ourselves and self-realization and again continuing to build, on ourselves and helping to build each other, because the quote unquote real world is a very difficult place right now.
Yes.
Regardless of how much you may have in terms of tools and resources, so just being able to commune with people like this that have different perspectives, that come from different backgrounds, that have different art forms, and different points of and levels of understanding.
Yeah.
A place that is safe. We can talk and ask questions. Again, I always walk away with more than I came in, and that's a beautiful thing. And I'll try to continue to help bring whatever I can for this community of people that we have here. The people that you have on, especially even the people in Chris in the chat, are fantastic, and I think there's a real I don't want to say need, but I'm glad this resource is here. I'm glad we're having these conversations,
Yeah.
because we need to have them. The world is it's just such a dramatic. The place has changed. The world has changed so much over the last 18 months.
Yeah.
Like it's really insane. But how often do we take time to sit back and look at it, and
Yes.
how it's impacted ourselves? We're unfortunately in a society where we have to keep surviving, right? We have to keep making sure we keep moving. So these conversations are great, and I'm grateful for them. So thank you.
Mm.
Mhm.
Back at you. Thank you. And Kundan?
Yeah.
Yeah, appreciate everyone here, and anyone listening. Definitely follow everyone here, especially at this. Yeah, appreciate you hosting this. My last words, I just wanted to share the poem that I referenced earlier, in which I addressed being perfect
Please do.
versus being infinite. All right, unfinished. I am undone, unraveled from the yarn of yonder tales of yore, unseen, biding my time, building my roots to one day be teeming with fruit, eventually teaming up with others, unheard as I move away from the herd, weaving my cocoon, feeding my imaginal cells, letting myself rain rainbows of full openness
Mm.
until I'm ready, my wings ready for magnificent flight,
Mm.
unfinished, not perfect, but good enough for now.
Mm.
In the next now, and the next, and the next. Because infinity is actually the opposite of perfection. Let me
Love that.
say that again. Because infinity is the opposite of perfection. And
Mm,
I am infinite, unfinished, whole.
mm, 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 mm.
Dang.
I
Thank you for
have a
sharing
favor to
that.
ask. I have a favor to ask, Kundan. Can you
Yeah.
record that? No, Snows knows what I'm about to get at.
Uh-oh.
Um,
Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
Yeah.
please, if you can, I guess we can handle this offline, but I honestly want to keep it open for and all the poets in the chat that may be listening. Um, I had the beautiful experience of capturing one of Notes' poems and adding music to it. That is actually on this last project called Heart.
Yeah, it is. The recording is up. It's about a 1 minute and 6 second video. It's on my IGTV. I can send it to you later. It's already up.
Please do.
There's a 1 minute video of me reciting the poem with the words in the description. I mean the
Perfect.
caption. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
should be able to rip the audio from that. Perfect. What I want to do
Okay.
is
Oh,
kind
you
of
want
just
to put it to music?
mhm.
Ooh, excellent. Yeah.
Oh, there we go. There it is. Yes, yes.
And that offer is open to any poets
Mm-hmm.
out there. I want I want more moments like what Kunta just read. Ooh, it gives me chills. Same thing with the brother notes. Any poets out there, I yes, I feel like we need to hear it more.
Appreciate that.
It's people have gone away from I guess reading in the sense of maybe reading hardcover books, and screens can be distracting. So if you can digest
Mm-hmm.
it through music, great. So
Yes.
I want to do that for some poets. So anybody out there, please DM me, send me your recordings, and I'll start to play around.
There it
I'm
is.
very excited about that, especially with that last line. I've got some ideas already going. Sorry about that.
I knew it.
No, good.
Ooh.
No, I'm glad you did. So again, have that out there. Answer your question. Chairman Dallas in the building. What's the word, brother? We were snapping because you just missed out on a fire poem. That's what happened. But to wrap things up, because I am still gonna do an after show. I'm not gonna try to take everybody else's time, but I am still gonna do an after show. But to wrap up today's show, y'all. Again, appreciate y'all. Much love to everyone's been here, giving their time and giving their thoughts and perspectives. Thank you so much. In short, with this stuff, when it comes to current events, please make sure that you take your time to observe what's going on around you so that you can be able to be fully informed on how you can address all the changing things within time. Because like the brother Phase was saying, we in a crazy and insane time right now. So I think it's very important that you take time to figure out what's going on news-wise, whether if you're in the U.S. or all across the world. Be informed. Second, when it comes to art, actualizing real time, the main core thing is to know that there is an idea of the art of living. So knowing that within you living and you putting in actual effort in manifesting things in the physical, because right now we only the see, not always the spiritual. But manifesting something in the physical, whether if that's working, whether if that's you creating art, whether if that's you just helping somebody to lift up and be a better version of themselves. Knowing that art of you living and what you're creating is beautiful and that you must continue to build on that. And lastly, when it comes to what is being the best version, your best version mean, again, that subjective is all to you, just like it is when it comes to video games and things and stuff. You find the tools and the resources that work for you to help build on what you necessarily like, not what the world likes, not what your mom, your dad, your sisters, your family, and friends like, but what you like and what helps you to promote more of that growth, whether it can be honesty, integrity, all of those, becoming, all of these things. So use all of that while at the same time taking step backs to ask very beautiful and important questions so that you can have more of a precise way to figure out the best version of yourself, either with meditation, etc. But with that, y'all, this has been another episode of What's the Word Wednesdays. Thank you again to everybody here. Shouts out to Kundan, Phase, as well as Notes. And for those who are watching this now or watching this later, either Instagram or YouTube, please like, comment, share, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for your brother A.D.V.I.S. Speaks, because there's going to be more content like this. Even if it's 3 to 4 and 10 hours long, still, you can find different parts that you like, but at the same time, hopefully it's engaging and it gives you some type of perspective from a multitude of people. But with that, y'all, we'll see y'all next time for the next episode, and we'll tune in. So peace and love, and we're out.
Wait, there's an after show?
Yes, there is.
Send me the link.
I'm just going to go live, so come back with me.
I'll be right,
All
I'll
right,
be
y'all.
right there.
Peace,
All right,
peace.
peace and love. Yeah.
Peace.